yes, let's do 10 of them. Maybe they're hoping that by the time they release all of theirs, the bubble will have burst.
That was Jim's plan all along. He was waiting for the bubble to burst, and he got his bubble wand out, dude. Move over, Fortnite. We have the Last of Us factions too. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the HGO podcast. I'm on your host today, Ethan, and joining me, as always, is my good friend Hunter. Hey, Hunter, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just swell.
No Kyle this week. We are alone. I feel like it's been a while since we've done one of these.
Yeah.
One-on-one.
I don't think it's been just you and me since the Tears of the Kingdom spoiler cast.
And even if we don't count spoiler casts like we sometimes don't, you know, it's like it's even further. It's been a while. I miss our chats, Hunter. I miss our one-to-ones, because whenever a one-to-one happens, either we're padding for time or the whole industry decides to crumble on its own whims and just die. So we're here once again. I feel like we're always talking about the state
just
of
a
something.
house of cards.
Yeah, we're always talking in these like one-to-ones. We're like, okay, what's the future of PlayStation? Non-existent. Cool. You know, what's the future of this? What's the future of that? And then this time we're like, well, we don't need to look into the future because it's dying before our eyes. It's going to be fun.
What future?
Well, exactly. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. We haven't really delved into any of these topics. We haven't delved into the Xbox leak. And now, if that wasn't bad enough, this whole week has been filled with layoffs, especially by Epic, but there's also been a load from Embracer with Saints Row Volition shutting down and all that jazz. And now we've also had everybody's favorite friend, your friend, my friend, Jim Ryan, has left PlayStation or is leaving PlayStation. He's going. Yeah. He's rang the bell. It's just he's got to wait for him to depart, I guess.
Oh man, there were a bunch of other studio directors leaving in the past week too.
There's been a lot of change in the video game industry. So the writing's been on the wall. The Callisto Protocol, Striking Distance, Glenn Schofield left. I know
Hideki Kamiya left.
Hideki Kamiya. I know a couple of weeks ago it was announced that David Vonderhaar, who's been the lead of multiplayer for Treyarch since Call of Duty started for them, has left. So it's like there's been a load of like
Stig from Respawn left.
Yeah, there's been so many, you know, reshufflings, leavings, reorganizings happening. We're going to talk all about those, and we're also going to talk about some games as well. Hunter's been playing Amnesia the Bunker, and I have finally finished Starfield, so I'm able to say that I've played a little bit of Lies of P, so we'll give our first impressions on that as well. But yeah, if you're new here, welcome to the HGO podcast. We're here every Monday at around 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. UK time on podcast services, and then a slightly later on youtube.com/hotgamersonly, where you can look at our stupid faces each and every week. We have got a review of Axolotl out on the YouTube channel right now, so if you want to go over there to youtube.com/hotgamersonly, we'd really greatly appreciate it. Go check it out. Thank you for supporting it so far. It's had a bit of a good response, so super happy with that.
So far.
Yeah. We really do appreciate it. And as always, that review copy was provided. So if you are a regular supporter of our podcast, if you can go to the YouTube video, show it some love, give it a thumbs up, because, you know, when opportunities come up like this, it's really good for us. So if you could help support it, that's great, as it helps us get recognized more for the work that we do. This week, a review of Starfield will also be up on youtube.com/hotgamersonly. I finished it. We're not going to talk about it here, but we will be talking about it because there'll be a review, and I haven't decided yet. I know Greg Miller did this, where he did like an hour talk where he just started rambling into the void, and I'm like,
oh yeah, I watched that.
That might be interesting. And if I do that, that will be an audio podcast exclusive. So if you're on the podcast services, you might get a little extra 30 to 40 minute thing of me monologuing about Starfield to myself. So if you're into that, follow on the podcast services, because we don't give you much, and I know that'll do terribly on YouTube, so we'll give it you if you feel like you want it. Obviously, plenty more reviews coming up. Assassin's Creed Mirage is out this week. We will be covering it on the podcast next week and in a review. We've got Spider-Man coming up. We've got Alan Wake 2 coming up. We've got Mario Wonder coming up. We've got Mario RPG coming up. We've got Persona 5 Tactica coming up. We have got probably something else that I've forgotten that is in this fucking menagerie of video games that are coming out. The whole zoo is here to play. So it'll all be coming to you on both podcasts and on youtube.com/hotgamers. Only we might be starting the shorts up again as well. I have an itch to do something creative, and I'm like, you know, the one short that we did a year and a half ago went really well, especially on TikTok. Might start drumming that up again because I need something that is less effort, I guess, but I need something to work on because I'm getting a bit of a trigger thing of
You
working on
need
stuff.
something stimulating.
Yeah, and I'm like, there's a load of reviews coming out. Maybe now's a good time to give it a whirl again. So who knows? Look out for those on YouTube and on the TikTok. And yes, we do have a TikTok. We are with those Zoomers, fellow Zoomers ourselves. We technically count, Hunter. We technically count. We are.
Maybe you do. I was born in the year 1815,
That is
and
true.
I am immortal.
Yeah, that's true. If it's like it'd just be really funny because it's like 1997, the first year of the Zoomers, and then it's just a picture of you, and it's like, wait a second, this doesn't add up. He doesn't
This
look
is
like
not
he's
like
watching
any of them
Subway
that I've ever
Surfers.
met.
Yeah, he's not watching fucking ASMR and fucking Subway Surfers. What is this, man? But yeah, we do have a TikTok. If you want to go follow us on there, we've got some stuff coming up there. It'll be fun. It'll be my little personal project. There'll be some high quality reviews like the Legends Arceus video. There might be some shit posts because I'm bored. We'll see what happens. Who knows? It's creative rain. I might try and do something every day and just shit some random stuff out. Who cares? It's our brand. I can do what I want. It'll be fine. It'll be funny. It'd be really funny if I just shit posted and it's like that's what blew up. But we'll see.
That would be
what
funny.
Be great. All we want is those sweet review copies. I just want to play Persona 3 and not have to rush it, Hunter. Is that too much to ask? Atlas, hit us up, please.
That would be nice, yeah. Being able to play the game early, just so you can have not even. It's funny. Like it's like so the early access thing that you pay for typically. To like do. I feel like that doesn't really count because reviews are already the people who've got review codes are posting the review. The embargoes go up before the early access does anyway, so that doesn't.
If you get
really
it a
count.
week early, you're just paying to get it on release day. Everybody else is getting it a week late. Like that's just how that works. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like that's the thing is Spider-Man codes are out. And there's this jealousy in my mind of not only do I have to try and crank a review out for that and Mario Wonder, because unfortunately for me, or not, because I'm sure they're both fabulous games, I'm reviewing both of them. It's like, I would love to at least have one of them slightly early so I could do a head start. But, it's fine. We're small. We've got to work towards that. And no, it's a long journey. I just want to be recognized. We're never going to get recognized by Nintendo. But come on, Sega. Look at all those Sonic fans you let through. Come on, let a Persona fan in. Let us in, please. But yeah, we've got a load of reviews coming. We've got a load of stuff planned. So if you want to check all of that out, we would really appreciate it. Let's start. You know what? I'm liking the vibe that this start has set, Hunter. So I'm going to mix our show notes up, and we're going to start with the state of the games industry. I feel like that is where the conversation is going. You know what I mean? Like, we could talk about Liza P, but that doesn't feel right. I feel like we need to talk about the state of the games industry right now. So, over the past 2-3 weeks, it's all hell has broken loose, it seems, in the video game industry.
It's gone all topsy-turvy.
And we're going to talk about all of it. Where do you want to start, Hunter? Do you want to start with the Xbox shenanigans, the PlayStation shenanigans, or the whole state of the rest of the affairs in terms of corporate shiftings and redundancies and all that jazz? Where do you want to start?
I don't know. I feel like starting with the PlayStation shenanigans is decent. Because
why? Are we doing
Xbox's stuff is older, that's why.
Are we going from most? I feel like we're going from least severe to most severe. So I feel like if we do PlayStation first, then Xbox in the middle, and then the shittery going on with the redundancies at the end. I feel, and I
see, right now the fire's just a little flame, and then in 15 minutes it's gonna get some gasoline, and then after that it's gonna get the rest of the can.
Just put a little emoji really small at the start, and then it's just the whole screen at the end of it. But I do want to preface right now that obviously we're having a bit of a laugh in terms of everything. We will have a laugh in terms of the Xbox and the PlayStation stuff. The redundancy stuff, I do want to make clear, it's a shit show. It's really bad.
Horrible.
And we're not trying to make light. We're not going to be all lighthearted and goofy about a load of people losing their jobs. If anything, we're gonna be goofy and mock the corporate heads and all these stupid people at the top who are
Yeah.
fucking with everybody and people's livelihoods. So make sure we're on that. We'll make sure we're on that foot. But anyway, let's talk about Jim Ryan. It was announced this week that Jim Ryan is finally fucking off back where he belongs, the UK. I don't want him back, to be honest. I'm gonna be real.
You can have little tea parties with him
Oh,
next year.
I was like, I was feeling it. I was like, something feels wrong, and then it was like Jason Schreier tweets out, sorry, he X's out, what posts, Jim Ryan's left. I'm like, I knew he was back in the country. Yeah, the fucker, I could sense him. But yeah, I'm getting this article from the BBC. This is how big of a deal this is.
Oh,
Screw you,
baby.
Video Games Chronicle. We're going big boys now. I'm kidding, VGC. I love you. Please keep making what you make, because you're usually the easiest people to get information from. But yeah, PlayStation boss Jim Ryan is stepping down in March 2024 after almost 30 years with the company. Obviously, he took over as CEO of SIE, the PlayStation division, basically, of Sony, in 2019, and has basically been running it this entire time from 2019 through to 2023. He's been he's been in charge since the entirety of the PlayStation 5 generation.
Yeah.
Before that, you had people like Sean Layden, who I feel like everybody loves and still love. We still loved Sean Layden.
Sean Layden was great.
It was honestly, the PS4 generation will always be something special for PlayStation. I feel like it was a golden age for PlayStation in a lot of ways.
It's when everything just clicked just right.
It just worked, dude. It just worked. And let's be real, we'll talk about PlayStation. I have a lot of criticisms for Jim Ryan, but I also can't say that he fucked up. Like, I feel like he still
No.
he
As much
did his
as
job.
like as much as I've talked about like thinking his face is stupid and whatnot, it's mostly like that's only because every time I hear something from him, it's always just because he says something stupid. Obviously, he's been doing a respectable enough job considering where placed the success of the PS5 and all of that.
And I mean, even if you go looking back, right, there was the dark days of PlayStation, really, which was like the end of the PS2 to the beginning of the PS3 era,
Yeah,
those kind of
PS3.
years, where it was like Sony, in terms of Japan, was losing interest, right? You had the Wii, which kind of blew up. Nintendo was just dominating the Japanese scene. The PlayStation 2 was huge, but the PS3 was kind of losing traction. That's the starting point, really, of when Japan started trailing off. They're still there, and I feel like Sony, with this new shift around, really does need to focus on Japan again a lot, just because I want games like Japan Studio made come back, please.
Bring them back, please.
But they were starting to tail off, and obviously in North America, you had the Xbox 360, which was dominating. Like, it was absolutely destroying PlayStation's turf in terms of North America. In Europe, Jim Ryan, who was the head of PlayStation in Europe, managed to keep PlayStation on top in Europe during that time period, which is why he probably has got the job in the first place. Say what you want about Jim Ryan, he's the definition of a corporate man, right? He's not, we'll get to Phil Spencer later, right? But he's not I'm the gamer's corporate man, dude. I love playing Fallout 76 and playing Starfield a year early. That's me. My name is Phil Spencer. He's not that. He's like, why would you play old Gran Turismo? We have new Gran Turismo. That's Jim Ryan. But say what you want about him. He's done a great job of whatever he's done. He's managed to PlayStation 5, huge. It probably would have been it'd be bigger than PS4 right now if the pandemic hadn't
pandemic
all that
and supply chain
issues happened. There would have been a lot of, because I feel like most of the criticism comes from the switch to games as a service, right?
Yeah.
The acquisition of Bungie, which has always been stupid to me. I don't think that it was a good acquisition. I don't let's play our cards straight, right? If you're new here, I don't think any acquisition is a good acquisition. We'll get to Xbox in a second, but I don't think buying your way to the top is a good idea for anybody. But, you know, I feel like that was particularly stupid, and the whole, we're gonna release 10 games as a service games in 4
This
years.
is looking even dumber by the day.
Especially when you realize you said that last year, and when you look at what they've released so far, if I'm correct, Hunter, correct me if I'm wrong, but the number, we had 10 potential releases, and so far
10.
I believe the number is 0. I believe we haven't
Yep.
had a single one of them show up. So that
Yeah.
just means, Hunter, we're getting 10 in 3 years. I can't
See,
wait. Think of all the battle passes.
maybe their plan is because the live service thing right now, the bubble is on its way to bursting. Maybe they're hoping that by the time they release Hall of Fairs, the bubble will have burst and the ground
There's a
would
new
have
bubble,
fertilized a
there's a
little
new
bit,
bubble.
so that their games can flower
Dude,
from
that was
the
Jim's.
remains.
That was Jim's plan all along. He was waiting for the bubble to burst, and he got his bubble wand out, dude, and he was ready to blow that second bubble. Hunter. That's what he was doing. He was like, "Move over, Fortnite. We have the Last of Us factions too. We got you."
It's still wild that they're like, yes, let's do 10 of them it's like looking at all of them and whatnot, all these games as a service. It's funny how some people will be like, yes, this is making a lot of money, and they can't realize why it's like, oh, this is making a lot of money. Why isn't everyone doing this? And they fail to realize why everyone isn't doing it or not doing it successfully. Why
Oh,
would you start with?
100%.
Why would you make the plan 10? Do 3.
Especially, and I feel like this is a problem with the games industry right now as a whole. You have so many people that just, we've had people that follow trends all the time. It always happens, right? But I feel like people saw Fortnite and they were like, "This is it. This is the next state of the games industry." And I feel like, how stupid must you be to not go, "Hang on, guys. What if people just want to keep playing Fortnite and maybe a
Yeah.
couple of others and not want to play 6 million fucking games as a service based on all of our IPs that are mainly single player projects?" It seems like a stupid idea, but they greenlit them anyway. And I mean,
It's like, hypothetically, imagine if even 5 of these,
mhm.
got a decent audience. You'd then be asking, let's say that there was a lot of crossover amongst those 5 games. You'd then be asking that audience for those 5 games to keep coming back to all 5 of them for
Oh,
the rest of
100%.
their lives.
I've thought about this for a while. The people who will play The Last of Us Factions 2 are going to be the exact same group or a very similar group to the people that play the Horizon multiplayer game, because a lot of PlayStation fans play most of the PlayStation brands. So it's like you're going to have a very similar, but like, yes, you'll have people that are like, "I only play shooters," or "I only play Monster Hunter" kind of video games. Cool, that's fair enough. But the problem is you see it with Nintendo games all the time, right? Where it's like, Nintendo mainly releases, in terms of like online multiplayer, they usually release like one Mario Kart, one Smash Bros, 2 Splatoons because they're freaks, one or
Yeah.
two, and in diverse portfolios, so that they're like, okay, we're covering our bandwidth here, right? Mario Kart's for the kart racer fans, you got Smash Bros for fighting games. Whereas PlayStation's brands are very much, hey, here's a third-person shooter. Hey, here's a third-person open-world action game. Here's another third-person open-world action game. So then when you come to making multiplayer versions of these games, they're all going to be very similar in certain ways. And
It
it's
almost
like,
feels like their multiplayer plan on paper would better be like, it feels like it would be what Nintendo's been doing with their 99 games post Tetris, where they just do them for a little while and then get rid of them and then do another one.
oh, 100%. And it's like, it's strange to me because it's like you have so many kind of franchises that you could diversify with Sony. I feel like it's like, I'm gonna bring in a second an article by Eurogamer, which is talking about how, according to insiders, PlayStation is very much nervous about this plan Jim trying to step forward, and we don't know if they're going to start thinking they're going to backtrack. They probably will backtrack. I 100% see
They
that happening,
probably should.
and they probably should. But
Like,
it's like,
draw the
they're thinking
line at the ones
diversify
that
with,
are already too far gone, and then if other games haven't gotten started yet, tell them to pivot to something.
oh, 100%. But it's like one of those things where it's like, you need to diversify in other ways. We've talked about this before, how it's like, Sean Layden has been talking about this a lot on Twitter. If you don't follow Sean Layden on Twitter, I'd actually highly recommend it, because he still tweets a lot about PlayStation not being a part of PlayStation. So you get a lot of interesting insights. And it's
Yeah.
stuff like, games are getting too expensive. So what could Sony do to diversify their portfolio? Make more games for younger audiences. That's a good market that they kind of miss. You have Ratchet and you have Sackboy, and that's about it. You know, they had all these third person platformers that just disappeared. They won't cost
Yeah.
you $6 million to make. Why don't you make some of those? Why don't you, make a multiplayer game, make a new IP? We don't need Horizon massively multiplayer game, to be honest. A co-op Horizon mode would have been really cool and something to do in a, an additional mode to do in a Horizon 3. We don't need a standalone Horizon MMO Monster Hunter game. We already have Monster Hunter. We don't necessarily.
Yeah.
There was that EA one that hasn't done particularly well. They've already started closing content down for it. Wild Hearts?
Yeah, Wild Hearts.
Wild Hearts, that's it.
Yeah.
Something like that. It seems very backwards to me. And like I say, I'll bring in this article by Eurogamer, who have got this lovely advertisement for Cyberpunk 2077 all over the screen. I get it, Eurogamer. Phantom Liberty's out. I appreciate it. But they're talking about how insiders at Sony are uncomfortable about outgoing PlayStation boss Jim Wright's pivot to games as a service. This is from Jason Schreier, so it's probably true. But yeah, it's like days after announcing the $3.6 billion Bungie buyout, which is still stupid. Why did they pay that much for Bungie? Think of all the smart investments you could have made that weren't that. Just like Bungie's like Destiny's in a really bad state at the moment as well. It's like Bungie's not in the good books, so it's not even like they're on a high. But anyway, they announced that they'd launch 10 new live service games over the next 4 years with the hope that Bungie would be able to aid with them. And then if you have not heard the story
also
before...
insanity. Like, 10 in 4 years.
That's like 10 in 4 years. That's ridiculous. It's like...
That's so many.
It's at least 2 a year. It's just like 2 to 3 a year. It's crazy. But, it's like... I would not be surprised if they start pivoting, to be honest. And I think they should.
It's funny because this live service hoopla feels like they took PlayStation just does third-person cinematic games. It's like they took that way too personally all of a sudden.
100%.
And overcorrected by choosing a completely new thing to just do too much.
Yeah. And it's like, I feel like Sony is especially with this Call of Duty acquisition for Microsoft that's 100% going through. And I can't wait to see all the fanfare that happens in a couple of weeks when it goes through later this month.
Oh my God.
I feel like Xbox is the perfect person to look at to show that buying things or making stuff that's just like these kind of, hey, look at, like, we have Forza, we have Halo, we have stuff like this. It was all kind of multiplayer focused. It's like, there's no identity to this stuff. It's like, you need to do a Nintendo. You need to go more in Nintendo's direction, where it's like, hey, fuck the third party. People will buy a console if we have the stuff that they want.
Yeah.
And I feel like Xbox is going in the opposite direction, where Xbox just wants to, we don't care what you're playing on, we just want to make money off of it. That's like Xbox's motto right now, is we want you to be subscribed to Game Pass. We don't care. If we could get Game Pass on PlayStation, we'd want Game Pass on PlayStation. We just want that money. That's what we want. That's
in like 7 years, Phil Spencer's going to try and download Game Pass to your eyeballs, I swear to God.
I can't wait. It'll be great. Don't worry, Hunter. You'll get a month free trial. It'll be good. But, it's like, Sony has been this middle ground, and I feel like they've been treading water this entire generation, where it's like, we still had these great games, I really liked Horizon Forbidden West. I really liked God of War Ragnarok. But they were more of the same, right? I'm very excited for Spider-Man because Insomniac never misses. They just don't. It's not what they do. They give their game reviews out. They give the review copies out 3 weeks before the game's coming out and go, hey, have fun. Like, it's a 20-hour game. Why are they giving it out so early? Because it's Insomniac. They know what they're doing. But it is just kind of, hey, new Ratchet and Clank. There's only been a couple of, like, new quote-unquote things, and it's mainly been remakes and Sackboy, for example, which was a reused IP, but a new take on that kind of franchise, which is cool. Yeah. But it's like there's been nothing new. When you think about PlayStation 4 and you go, Yeah, you had The Last of Us Part 2, which was a sequel to a game that was very late in the PS3's life cycle. Still relatively new IP, right? But it's like, when you think of new IPs, you had the start of Spider-Man, you had Ghost of Tsushima, you had Horizon Zero Dawn
Horizon,
was the
yeah,
first was
Horizon
the first God
was
of
like
War
the
was a
first
complete
big. To be
reboot.
fair
Yeah.
to that, though, Horizon was like the first notable like new thing that generation.
Hmm.
And that was in 2017,
But
which
do I want
was
to scare you, Hunter?
that was we're getting there, yes,
We're
but
there
we're not
next year.
quite. Yeah, yeah. Next year
That's
is
the
just all
scary.
they're stupid.
Even when there was stuff that
Next year is the live
even when there
service.
wasn't, even though Hunter, even when there was stuff that wasn't necessarily new, though, you also had, they weren't exactly hits, but you had like Order 1886. You had, well,
Yes,
definitely was a hit because it was a third party partnership, but you
yeah,
know,
Bloodborne.
we had some stuff where it's like, I look at the PlayStation 5 and I love the PlayStation 5. PlayStation 5, great console. Same with the Xbox. But my problem with both of them is just kind of, they're just like, these are my excuses to not own a PC. Like, it's like, I'm not
Yeah,
sitting there going, oh, I can't wait. And Sony's a bit better because it's like, okay, you've had more games. Congratulations, Sony. You beat Microsoft with your 16 months where they didn't release a single fucking exclusive. Like, congratulations. But it's still like, other than Returnal, which I love Returnal. Returnal's great. It's my
yeah,
favorite PlayStation 5 game, probably, in terms of the new ones, because it was so fresh and interesting. But it's like, we're still just kind of treading water. And it's like, I really hope the second half of the generation, and with Jim Ryan, again, have nothing against Jim, but I hope whoever comes into the fray next kind of brings back what made PlayStation in a way. I want to see stupid shit like Knack. I like, even if I don't like it, I want to see that goofy shit like Knack. Days Gone
yeah.
wasn't a perfect game, but why they didn't let Ben tweak it
Do
and
another
work on it
one.
and turn it into something that could be great,
Yeah,
I have no clue. Like, I miss stuff like The Last Guardian or Gravity Rush
yeah,
2, or stuff that felt PlayStation. It didn't sell 6 bajillion copies, but it was just there and you could play it and it was awesome. I miss those things.
yeah.
And I feel like we're losing them to fucking whatever these shitty games
To
are, which
fair game dollar sign.
I even forgot the name of it, but it's like, I have nothing against that team, but it's like, I also don't care about it, and I don't think anybody else will either. Like,
The people who Payday fans don't even care about the newest Payday. How are you expecting this game to do anything?
yeah, it's true. But yeah, I'm really, like I say, I feel like the next big showcase for them is kind of, and I think they know this, is it's kind of the do or die moment, right? It's kind of, we need, after Spider-Man, they've been riding on Spider-Man since they announced Spider-Man last year, like early last, was it last year or was it the year before? Did they
It
announce
was the
Spider-Man?
year Spider-Man was the year before
It
because
was
that came with
2021?
the because it came with the announcement of the KOTOR remake that's probably being
That's never
canceled.
happening,
And
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, of course,
and
of course.
that's where Stellar Blade was and all that.
Yeah. It's it's like, that's
And
bizarre. They've been
Wolverine.
riding on this wave for 2 years. They've been riding on
Yeah.
the we have Spider-Man coming wave for 2 years. And yeah, I'm sure that for 100%, they'll then start the we're riding on that Wolverine wave, baby. And it's like, oh, God, please stop. I hope the next time that we see Sony, it's like, hey, here's the new IP from Sony Santa Monica. Here's what Naughty Dog has been working on for so long that isn't Factions, because we know they've been working on something else. And I hope it's a new IP.
If it's
The
just The
room,
Last of Us 3, I'll be a little
the rumor,
sad.
the
I'm
room,
not
the
gonna
rumor is
lie.
is that they've been working on both, but the new IP is first. And I'm hoping to God that's true, because I
Oh
love
my
The Last of
god.
Us. I would play The Last of Us Part 3, but
Yeah,
it's
but
surprisingly, it's been
it'd be
3
nice to
years
see
and it still
something
feels like
else.
it still feels like it's too fresh. Like, genuinely. There's a small part of me, as sick and twisted as it is, and I know you don't like Uncharted as much as I like Uncharted, Hunter, but there is a small part
Yeah.
of me that's like, I wish I'd see Uncharted again before The Last of Us at this point, just because I'd much rather have a 10 to 12 hour kind of campy action game than another Last of Us. I love Last of Us, but it's a heavy game to play through every time they show up. I need an 8-year gap between Last of Us games. I just kind of do. Um, but yeah, that's them. That's all. So that's PlayStation. Good luck, Jim. Whatever you do in the future, salut. I feel like sometimes we were too harsh on you, and at other times you really did look like you wanted to be anywhere else. So good luck in whatever you do next. Um, and before you go, please cancel 5 of those those games as a service games.
At
Be
least
great.
5.
You know what? You've announced Fair Game $. You can have that one.
Fair Game, $, and Concord
Last
are
of Us
both like
Factions, I feel
stuck.
like you have to do at this point. Same with Horizon. I swear there was that other one that they announced with the spaceship.
Yeah, that was Concord.
Concord, you can have that one. And you can surprise us with the 5th one. Get rid of the rest.
Yeah.
Let's move on. It's
Oh,
30
boy.
minutes into the show. This might be a long one, guys. This might be a long
Ooh,
one.
maybe.
I promised Lies of P, and I feel like I have to at least say something, so this might be a long one. Strap in, guys. As we now move on to Xbox. So, this will be fun. A couple of weeks. Was it 2 weeks ago? A week and a half ago?
It would have. It would have been 2 weeks at the point of upload.
Okay. So 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, we had the big leak, the Xbox leak.
The big leak 2023.
I think this is the big leak of 2023. I don't think we're getting bigger. That basically laid out all of their plans for the next 5 years. To put this into perspective, a lot of this was from last year, some of it even older. So, you know, don't expect the Elder Scrolls 6 next year like those plans said initially, because I can promise you that isn't happening.
Not a chance.
But yeah. Anyway, I guess there was so much interesting stuff to talk about. And I feel like I don't know where to start. But I guess we should probably start about what their actual plans were for the rest of the console generation, because everybody's been wondering that. We've had these kind of rumors, these whispers of PlayStation 5 Pro, which is almost definitely happening, to whether people like it or not. Think how I feel, Hunter. I now own 2 of these fuckers, and then I still might clown my ass into getting a PS5 Pro. Like, you know, like...
No, Ethan, don't. Mid-gen refreshes are stupid.
I know, Hunter, but think of the teraflops.
Yeah. Let's just
I can
buy
play The
one.
Last of Us 3 in 5K.
Let's just buy one 4 years after this other one. That way, that when they put the new number on it in a few more years, it's gonna feel less impressive.
Oh, 100%. But anyway, let's talk about all these leaks. Let's start off. They aren't doing They aren't doing an Xbox Series X Pro or like whatever they were going to call it. Instead, they've got 2 that are coming out next year. One is called Brooklyn and one's called Elwood. And both of them will piss people off. Let's talk about it. Brooklyn is the Xbox Series X refresh, which this is their tagline. Hunter, I'm going to warn you now, you will cringe when you hear what the tagline is. So I'm just warning you. Fair game.
Let me brace myself.
$sign. Anyway,
$sign, yeah.
The tagline is the most powerful Xbox ever, now adorably all digital, is what they were calling it internally. So it's basically, I'm not going to show it because I don't know if we can show these things. I feel like it's fair game. I can't. I need to stop saying fair game.
Again.
I need to stop saying that now. I feel like
this
it is
the
fair
one
game.
that looked like a speaker.
Yeah. But it basically imagine oh, you can't see it. My Xbox.
Imagine this if I turned the light off.
Yeah, basically that. There you go. Perfect. Imagine a black Alexa. That's what it is. It's like that. They basically taken the fridge and have just made it a circle and gone, job done, guys. Job done.
It's the battery for the fridge.
But if you wanted to know, it's basically better Wi-Fi. They've shrunken the die size. Obviously, they've reduced the power consumption. They've upped it to 2 terabytes, and it's the same price as the actual Series X that you currently have. So if you're wondering, will the refresh be cheaper? No. And the disk drive's gone, by the way. Spoiler alert. It's all digital. I think you got that from Adorably All
It's
Digital.
the all
But
digital PlayStation was like $50 cheaper, wasn't it?
yeah. Yeah, but you get 2 terabytes of storage instead of 1 terabyte under, so
Uh,
that's where that extra money's going. You get $50 off, then re-add it
I
on
guess
for
you
the
do
extra
need more
terabyte.
storage since you need to
Yeah.
download everything.
Although, like, PlayStation and Xbox discs are fucking useless anyway. You have to download it back to the hard drive regardless. So
Yeah.
you'll love to see it. But this is coming next year in late 2024, and then Elwood. Are you shocked? I'm not. Is coming in mid 2024 and is slightly different. Um, Again, though, here's the interesting thing to me is everyone's like more internal storage, 1 terabyte, all new and immersive controller, same low price. I think these plans have changed because we just got the black Xbox Series S with 1 terabyte of storage already in it.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think that Alwood that might be already Alwood because
Hmm.
for me, like other than they might just it looks the same. The console looks the same, by the way. There's no change. This one is not a circle as well. Unfortunately, we have not got a cylindrical Series S. This one's still a rectangle,
I was hoping
which
they'd go for a pyramid for this one.
looks even stupider, right? Because like the whole idea by the X and the S, where it was like, here's the X is the fucking fridge, and the S is the fridge cut in half, and now it looks like a speaker. Like that was like you just
Yeah.
chop it in half. It makes sense, right? Now they just look stupid. But it's just faster Wi-Fi, reduced power, and the new Xbox controller. There's a new controller, by the way. It looks stupid, but it does have all the features that the DualSense has. Other than adaptive triggers, it has the haptic voodoo, which
Yeah.
we love a bit of haptic voodoo, so
We
that's
do
cool.
like haptic voodoo.
But they're kind of the new Xbox controller is called Sebile. I don't know how to say it.
Sybil? I don't
Sybil,
know. I haven't seen it spelled.
Sebile. So I'd go with Sebile.
SEB.
Sebile. We'll go with Sebile, and if I'm wrong,
Celebi.
Celebi. Perfect. But the plan is to launch Alwood in August and Brooklyn of October next year, which would be interesting because you assume that the PlayStation 5 Pro will be coming out next November. So it'll be interesting. Same time as Wolverine, guys. That's gonna have the only PlayStation 5 game out next year, apparently.
Oh my god.
But yeah, and apparently, according to these leaks, the current Xbox Series S will be going on sale for $200 for Black Friday before it's discontinued. So, might be a good chance to pick up a Series S if you're interested in that, if you're that way inclined. This stuff, obviously, is subject to change. It kind of sucks. This is the stuff where it's like, this doesn't matter, right? This is all like kind of sucks for them that this stuff is out there.
Yeah.
Especially when PlayStation hasn't played their hand yet, it's a bit shitty. But this isn't this isn't juicy in the slightest. If you were to tell me the Series X refresh is a stupid shape and doesn't have the disk drive, I'm shocked. I'm expecting the PS5 Pro to be a stupid shape as well.
The thing that would be hilarious is if these things just didn't come to pass. That way, for the next 4 years, instead of hearing about a new Nintendo, we'd be hearing about this stupid mid-gen Xbox thing as if it were knocking on the door.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
But did they do 2 of those last gen, or was it just the One X? I don't remember.
They had One X and One S. So they did a refresh of the original Xbox One. They got rid of the fucking VCR machine and they turned it into an actual console. Yeah.
Yeah.
They also did an all digital version of the Xbox Series S as well. So it's all interesting, to be honest. But like I say, that stuff is not interesting. There's a load of other stuff. There's so much that came out. We're not going to talk about all of it because I don't think some of it is interesting. There's definitely parts that are interesting like that. But stuff like Microsoft saying, like Phil Spencer saying that he wasn't impressed by the PS5's reveal and stuff like that. That's not new information or something. That's just corporate people being corporate, and of course, if you're working for PlayStation, you're going to go, guys, I'm not intimidated by the Xbox reveal. You're going to do the same. You're going to say the same shit, right? People are always going to do that, right? People will say that about the Switch too. It's like, guys, I'm not worried about Nintendo having another breakout hit of a console. They always fuck up the second one. Like that's their thing.
Yeah. Surely their next Pokemon game isn't going to put our library to shame via the numbers.
Yeah, but there's a lot of there was a lot of stuff that was more interesting, right? Um, I think this is interesting. Is let's talk about their release slate pre-COVID. This is what they thought when they were talking. Well, this is what Bethesda's. This was before they were acquired by Microsoft. This was what they thought their planned release schedule was, which I think is hilarious. And this is, I think, that it's a great kind of look into game development and see how much COVID actually, because we talked about on this since the first day of the podcast, how COVID has completely changed everything about the games industry. It's pushed
Yeah.
things so far away, and it has delayed things, and it's brought other
I
things
think the
forward. It's done a lot of
massive
stuff.
things that have come out this year is a result of some of that finally happening,
100%. And also, I do want to state that even though these games are in this little this lovely little list, I do want to also say that there is a chance these games could have been cancelled. These games could have been pushed even further. They might not exist anymore. Let's talk about them anyway. So, their example of fiscal year 2020 was pretty close to actually what happened. Funny enough, they were on track for at the start of this plan. Who would have guessed? The only thing that pushed out was Deathloop, which was obviously pushed to 2021. Here's where it gets interesting. 2021 was supposed to have Starfield. I don't know if you know this, Hunter. Starfield did not come out in 2021. In fact, I believe it came out a month ago. Like, if I'm looking at the clock, happy month of Starfield.
Just missed it.
Just missed. Also, it was supposed to come out in 2021. Redfall. That missed as well.
That wasn't even revealed in 2021. Or was it?
No, it wasn't. Actually, no, I think it was revealed in 2021. It just hadn't. It was announced in E3 2021, and then never came out.
Yeah.
Ghostwire Tokyo was supposed to come out in 2021. Everyone that got pushed to 2022, so it was close.
Yeah.
Project Hibiki, which is everybody is now expecting, was Hi-Fi Rush, was also supposed to come out in 2021. That got pushed.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that
quite far away.
App on the computer is called Hibiki.
Yeah. So this is now, it gets more interesting. Obviously, you're like, oh, so some 2021 games ended up either in 2022 or 2023 even. Well, wait till you see what was supposed to come out last year, because I can tell you that, as far as I'm aware, none of it came out. Indiana Jones was supposed to be out last year. So was the Elder Scrolls expansion that's coming out this year. That was supposed to be out last year.
For the MMO, you mean?
Yeah, for the MMO.
Yeah.
Starfield's DLC was all supposed to have dropped last year, obviously. And then the big one, Oblivion Remastered, was supposed to be last year. Which, I don't know if you know this, Hunter. We don't even know if that exists, but hey ho. It's there. Anyway, this year we were supposed to have a new Doom game, Hunter. Doom Year Zero. Which I assume
that would have been a great
prequel.
thing to cash in my month of Game Pass at the beginning of the year on.
Yeah. And then some unknown projects, Project Kestrel and Project Platinum, which we don't know anything about as far as I'm aware. So that's cool.
Project Platinum was obviously a Scalebound revival.
Oh, obviously. And then, Hunter, I want you to write all these down, because let me tell you, next year, gonna be a banger. All 100% coming out next year. Elder Scrolls 6, they're gonna make it in 6 months. It's gonna be great. An expansion for Project Kestrel, which we still don't know what it is, but you can assume that it's an RPG from that, or either an RPG or a game that kind of has a room for expansion. It's definitely single player, whatever Project Kestrel is. Licensed IP game that's not Indiana Jones. I remember ages ago hearing that Xbox was making a Star Wars thing. I would not be shocked, because they're already working on Indiana Jones, if that's a Star Wars thing. I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, because then Indiana Jones got the Lucasfilm hoopla attachment to it, so it's getting their own Star Wars game. That'll be the Pod Racer.
I remember ages ago people were like, my Xbox has got the Mandalorian rights. I'm like, I don't know what sounds worse than a Mandalorian game. I don't want that, please. Like, guys, I know it's fun. I know the games industry loves to just copy what's popular somewhere else, but please, I can't see something that wouldn't work like a Mandalorian game. It just sounds fucking boring. Like, it just sounds like a third-person shooter, and you have enough of those, Bethesda. You have enough of them.
You had a jetpack?
What, Starfield?
Oh. Right.
Anyway, it gets even more interesting. Fallout 3 was supposed to get a remaster next year. I'm sure that it will
Oh,
still will, which would be nice, really, because I do intend to play Fallouts eventually, and Fallout 3 would be good. Um, another expansion for Elder Scrolls that just happens every year. Spoiler alert. Here's something interesting. Obviously, Doom gets its DLC. Ghostwire Tokyo was already planned to get a sequel, which I think's interesting because I wonder if it actually will anymore, because it was received it had pretty mixed reception,
it
and I
was.
doubt
People shrugged their shoulders at it, to say the least. Like,
that it set the world on fire in terms of Game
yeah,
Pass or PlayStation sales. So it'll be interesting to see if that actually gets released at all.
I don't think it's a priority anymore. Like, I would expect them to either devote their attention to going back to the evil within, or maybe even sooner now going to a Hi-Fi Rush sequel.
Oh, I think it's almost a surefire that we get a Hi-Fi Rush sequel at some point in the next 3 years. I think that's just a given. Just it didn't necessarily it did way better than I think a game like that usually would do. But I think just I think the reception really did Xbox a favor. I feel like Xbox has been in this place where they've been struggling, especially with Redfall now, and even Elder Scrolls, where people are not Elder Scrolls, fucking Starfield, but it's the same thing, different coat of paint. But
Yeah, one's in space
it's
and one
they've
uses
had this
sticks.
issue where it's like even Starfield, a game which I think is great, is very much still trapped in these kind of criticisms and complaints that are very much valid because they very much stem from older issues that these games always have and that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like Xbox kind of needs like a game like Hi-Fi Rush, and it's also something that you don't see from Xbox. And I think Xbox wants more of
Yep.
that, where they don't want you to just think of dude shooters and car games when you think of Xbox.
Vroom vroom.
And I think stuff like Hi-Fi Rush, things like Psychonauts, even stuff like Hellblade, when that eventually sees the light of day,
Ah,
kind of
yes.
change that perception of Xbox a bit. And then Dishonored 3, we're supposed to potentially get in a Dishonored game. I would say if you're a fan of Dishonored, don't get your hopes up, because especially after stuff like Redfall, I don't know how Xbox will feel about stuff like that. Especially because Dishonored, I know so many people that love Dishonored, but it's in the same vein of like people who like Deathloop, where it's like because it's an arcade game. I think arcade games are very much in or out of them, and their audience is very vocal, but
Yeah,
they're not as
I don't know. I
necessarily
feel
setting the
like
world on fire.
I haven't played either of the Dishonored games, so I feel like I'd probably like them a little more because I don't feel like the main characters would not be assaulting my ears the whole time I'm playing, and
Yeah,
B, it's much
I
more
played it.
committed to the
Mm.
vision
I played like the
than
first
Deathloop was.
third of Dishonored, and I liked what I played. I thought it was very interesting. I think the world that they have made was very interesting. It Arcane's really good at making worlds that you want to actually be in and explore. I think they did. I think they nailed it with Dishonored. I think they nailed it with Prey. I think they nailed it with Deathloop. I think that's the biggest compliment I can give to Deathloop is they went for a style and they nailed that style. I don't necessarily agree with the story or the performances, but that world, I'm like, it still looks cool. I still go back and look at Deathloop trailers and go, man, I wish this game was what I wanted it to be because those trailers are so
I wish it
fucking
was
good.
Hitman.
Yeah, so do I. Um, but yeah, so that was a lot of the stuff that came out from Bethesda, and it's like it's interesting again to see how much stuff that's changed. Again, not necessarily, spoiler alert, not necessarily a bad thing. Um, do you want to talk about the Nintendo thing?
Oh yeah, let's rip this band-aid off.
Oh fucking hell! Right. Anyway, Phil Spencer was quoted in an email, saying that it would be the highlight of his career to purchase Nintendo, and he thinks that it's only a matter of time. And I want to get the email up because it was so stupid. There's one line where I'm like, Phil, you have like there's
You
like
goober.
I'm like, this is the stupidest line on an email I've ever read in my life. Like, where is it? Oh, that's not the
How do you
full
write a
email,
worse
Verge.
email than Jim Ryan
Uh,
talking about his cats, Phil? How do you do
oh.
it?
What do you mean? I love that email. That was the greatest email. Here we go. This is the line that I wanted to talk about. Right. So, Again, you're a gamer and they're lovely Cyberpunk advertisements. Love to see it. So Nintendo is the prime asset for us in gaming, and today gaming is on most likely path to consumer relevance. Hate this shit. Funny enough, he talks about acquiring Warner Bros. Interactive and ZeniMax. One of those came true. And I agree with him on this point of view where he was like, we don't see the value in Warner Bros. As much because we don't get the IP with it. And I'm like, I completely agree.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Rocksteady's a great studio, but also I feel like a lot of their magic was that they were able to make a great Batman game. So
Yeah.
true. Anyway, this is the one that at some point getting Nintendo would be a career moment, and I honestly believe a good move for both companies. It's just taking a long time for Nintendo to see that their future exists off of their own hardware. A long time. And I think if we were talking about if this was an email from 2015, Hunter, if this was an email
if you're
from
trying to like scalp the
2015,
corpse of the Wii U.
yeah, or I'll even give you 2017 or 18, where yes, the Switch was selling well, but we didn't know if it was a phase, if it was going to plateau, or what have you. This was 2020. This was mid 2020. I want to say this is June 2020. This is the same period of time where Nintendo had just released Animal Crossing New Horizons, the biggest game launch of that year. And I also want to say this is also the time where Phil Spencer also went on an Animal Crossing talk show with Gary fucking Whitta. Like, this is stuff where it's like he wasn't oblivious to this shit, okay? This was... And there's some benefit of that. He's replying to somebody. This could very much be him corporate trying to just go, you know what, that's a great... because, this happens in corporations where some stupid shareholder or someone goes, hey... I love video games. I'm a big gamer. We should buy Nintendo, like stupid boomer shit, where they're like, Nintendo big, buy Nintendo. And Phil's trying to talk him down, right?
My favorite thing to come out of this was Ben Starr's little post about it.
Oh, yeah.
Let me buy one Nintendo, please. It'll make me look cool. Don't say no. Stop making me look cool.
My favorite thing about anything in the games industry right now is Ben Starr just doing something.
It's so good.
He's my favorite person on the internet at the moment. I do love him.
I want him to be PlayStation's next president.
Here's my thing, right? It's like I liked Final Fantasy 16. I don't love Final Fantasy 16, but I love Ben Starr. Like I will love him forever. Like
I like all of the cast. Like they all seem to be down to be silly. It's great.
They are great.
It's like I didn't realize I like the cast of a game as much as I like the respective actors for Persona as much now. But here we are.
And obviously, like we've had leaks before where they've talked about acquiring Sega and Supergiant IO, and I think it's a really interesting conversation because I want to make this clear. There's no chance in hell that Xbox will ever buy Nintendo. That's just not going to happen.
I'm pretty sure that would start a war with Japan.
I think that Nintendo would rather fucking like self-implode
collapse
and just delete just press the delete button and like go away than be acquired by somebody like Microsoft or even Sony.
Nobody gets the IP rights when they go away either. If you ever try to make a Zelda game after Nintendo's gone, you're gonna be haunted until you go mad.
Yeah. But I think the thing is, right, it's like I say, you can give a benefit of the doubt to the stuff like this could be him trying to talk down somebody who's just obviously not as knowledgeable. This could be Phil Spencer in his fucking office with his cat on his lap doing his fucking moo ha 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 James Bond villain impression, Could be many things. But I think the one thing that this is shone a light on, and I feel like we've been saying it for a while and people haven't really been taking it seriously, is that at least from Microsoft's perspective, it seems like their whole deal is just, we're just going to keep buying until we're on top. That's the way we win this. And I think it's like, don't get me wrong, I think the Activision Blizzard deal is kind of putting a relative stopper on this. I don't think that with how much trouble that they've had going through this acquisition of Activision, I don't think there'll be a point where they can acquire another major publisher. I don't think that's going to happen. I fucking hope to God it doesn't happen. Not because I hate Xbox, but because it's ridiculous.
Is stupid.
And I wouldn't want anybody growing to acquire too much, else.
As we will get to in a little while. It leads to bad things.
I think the Odd Studio is fine, but even then, I think that it's like there has to be a reason behind it, not just hey, this game's popular, we should buy it. And I feel like that's what Microsoft does all the time. Hey, Minecraft's popular, we should buy that. Hey, we need like we need a pub we need to improve our collection of games, and we have a great partnership with Bethesda that we've had since the original Xbox, and people buy Bethesda games. We should buy them. People like Call of Duty. We should buy, like, this is like their kind of thinking where it's like, say what you want about other kind of acquisitions. I don't want to be fucking classed as a Sony fan because that sounds cringe to me, but they acquire Insomniac. It's not like they had Spider-Man under their belt. They just acquired Insomniac because they've worked with Insomniac for 20 odd years and have made
Yeah,
so many
yeah.
exclusives
Like,
that they're like, this just makes sense for us to
I've,
make this
you would be
official.
forgiven for thinking they already owned Insomniac.
Yeah, you kind
Yeah,
of just assumed that. Same with people like Bluepoint or
yeah,
Housemark. These are kind of companies that have already been working together. And yes, you can say the same of, hey, Xbox has been working with Bethesda since. I'm like, yes, but you don't ever, you assume Bethesda with PC. Let's be real here. That's, you assume like
yeah,
you assume Elder Scrolls and Fallout and all that with PC or on multiplat, right? You don't really assume that. And I think that's the problem. Is I have no problem. I had no problem with Microsoft acquiring Double Fine. I had no problem with that because I'm like, oh, they need someone like Double Fine in their repertoire, and also they have had that relationship because the original Psychonauts was initially supposed to be an Xbox exclusive. It's like, I understand
yeah,
this, right? It makes sense. It works for Tim Schafer and Double Fine because they've always been on the brink of collapsing every fucking 2 seconds, so it gives them a
yeah,
bit of
yeah. It's
security.
like
It makes sense.
if Platinum were to be acquired by like anyone, I don't care if it's really Xbox or anyone else, they could stop making games that are clearly only there to pay
Shit,
the
yeah,
bills. Yeah.
yeah. When it makes sense for
Hopefully,
that,
but you know,
stuff like that
but
makes sense, right? It's like, it's this just, I hate this kind of, and to me, it's like him saying it's a career highlight. It pisses me off because I'm like, so your career highlight is more acquisition. It's not creating your own IP. Do you not
yeah,
have
not
enough
creating your own
studio?
thing.
Do you not have enough studios now to make something and make something unique and interesting? Like, that's the thing, right? Is with Activision, they'll have the Call of Duty machine, which I can assume will continue chugging until the fucking end of time at this point. But
Yeah,
you'll have that machine. But you have if you fix Blizzard, then you should probably will have some creative people there once you've kicked out all the shitters. Like the rest of them, you might have some creative people left over. Same with like
yeah,
Toys for Bob, um, Beanox. Find whatever fucking skeletal remains of Vicarious Visions are still in there somewhere that you have to dig up. Try and there's some stuff to find there. Obviously,
they just find the skeleton of a man listening to the Tony Hawk Pro Skater soundtrack in his final moments.
hell yeah, you log into his archaic computer and you just see the logo of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 remastered. Like, oh wow, we found it. You've got Double Fine, as we mentioned. You've got all the people from Bethesda, and I'm not just talking about Bethesda Game Studios. I'm talking about you've got everybody else that's in that team. Uh,
Tango and
you've got
Arcane
Tango
and
Gameworks, you've got
id.
id, you've got all of those people. You've got some fucking studios that could make some really good games now. Let's focus on that, shall we?
Yeah, a brand new cool idea came to fruition earlier this year with Hi-Fi Rush. Make more cool new stuff.
And I think the problem is, and we'll get to this because I did want to mention this as well, is it was also leaked how much games cost to bring them to Game Pass, and I can kind of see, I can understand why they think that the acquisition is the way to go forward, because they need stuff on Game Pass. But it's really interesting, right? So, for example, it would have cost Xbox $250 million to put Mortal Kombat 1 or Suicide Squad on day one Game Pass.
Imagine paying that much to put Suicide Squad on Game Pass.
Remember, these documents were from like 2020.
Yeah,
So,
they were from like 2020. I
I think it
understand,
was
but
even
that's
2022,
hilarious.
which we still had hope for Suicide Squad in 2022.
Yeah.
Barely. Or for example, 300 million for Jedi Survivor or 100 million for Assassin's Creed Mirage. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of money. Lego Star Wars was 35 million, apparently, which is a fucking lot of money. Some estimates for you. Some companies like Rockstar, they're kind. They'll just do it for 5 million per month that it's on Game Pass. What a deal for a fucking 5-year-old game. Thank you,
Oh,
Rockstar.
baby.
You're so fucking humble. Gotham Knights 50 million. Think you'd be overpaying, to be honest. Um, Here's one that I love. Baldur's Gate 3, 5 million. How
Oh
everybody
man,
underestimated that video game. Fucking love to everybody over Baldur's Gate for that. Like, they must be
Larian,
feeling
yeah.
so great, dude. They must be
Oh my
feeling
god.
high as a kite. Um, Also, interestingly, in all these leaks, there was mention of Red Dead 2 next gen. Where the fuck is that, Rockstar? Where is it? Please and thank you. Appreciate it.
Pretty
Um,
please.
I would love a PS5 version of Red Dead 2. I literally just I don't even need an excuse. Like I just need like a tiny reason to go back and
At
play
this
it, and
point,
I
I would
will.
just get that one because like the other one never dips. The PS4 version still like when I'm walking around GameStop and whatnot, $30 at minimum. Game from the end
Oh,
of 2018 and still only half price.
100%, like 100%. And I think it's been estimated as well that I can't find the number, so if this is off, please don't shoot me. Um, but it's roughly apparently the gross profit for Game Pass is something along the lines of $2.5 billion or something like that every year. So if you can imagine spending like to get something like Suicide Squad on your service is a tenth of your operating budget for the year, basically.
Yeah.
And that's when you're starting to think of, okay, I kind of understand why they're going acquisition crazy because they can't afford to put these huge third party games on their service. They just can't. It's not feasible. And to that I say, fucking of course it's not feasible. You've seen what happened with Netflix. They very much moved from having everybody's stuff to making their own. It's not viable to have other people's stuff and paying money because people know there's money in it and they want that money. I'm shocked to say that. It's true. And so
Yeah.
it makes sense, but also it's like it's so not good for the industry. I don't think Game Pass is the future. I really don't. I just
No.
don't see it being feasible at all. Because it's like you see all these services plateau. It's just not happening in the slightest. Like, and unlike stuff like Netflix or Disney Plus, Xbox can't go, do you know what's doing it, guys? Password sharing. Of course it fucking isn't. No one password shares their Xbox Game Pass subscription. No
The
one.
closest I've ever come to password sharing a thing like this was I replaced my PS4, the
Mm-hmm.
first one I had, like a little while after I got a job, and I kept that PS4 that I gave away when I replaced it as my primary one, so my friend that I gave it to could just play my PS Plus library stuff
Mm-hmm.
anytime they wanted.
I mean, some
And
people
it's
do that,
like,
right? But
yeah, and it's like I'm sure that Supergiant isn't gonna miss the one sale that they probably got back from me anyway when I bought
yeah,
someone else Transistor in the following years.
but yeah, man, it's like I just don't see a future for these kind of subscription models. I feel like
At least not so
as a
focused on having like the brand new thing, you know? Like,
supplementary, I can understand it working. I can understand it working for classic libraries for games that you maybe I
yeah.
I feel
Or
like
indies,
people
like Sea of
yeah,
Stars come into the both of them. I think
works
probably did
great.
real good for it because
Yeah.
like they hit their year they hit their goal of like sales for a year and just the month or a couple weeks that it was out.
And you've to me it's like there's got to be a certain threshold, right? Because obviously Call of Duty will be on Game Pass and it'll be there day one. The amount of sales you'll lose from that, you've got to weigh it up because it's like obviously Game Pass subscription costs are going to go up eventually, probably sooner rather than later. But even then, at its current rate, right, you pay $15 a month, I believe it is for Game Pass Ultimate,
I
right?
hope they I hope they have a mirror of whatever the Game Pass equivalent of giving you Saints Row the month after PlayStation announces that their prices for PS Plus are going up is.
What a
And they're
fucking
like, ah,
insult!
yes, we've got Suicide Squad and Gollum coming
Oh,
to Game
what,
Pass.
what a beautiful! I forgot about Gollum. Thank you for that. But you know, $180 a year, Game Pass Ultimate, basically 3 games, which is like for Xbox. Yeah, you know what? I might not buy 3 $360 games from Xbox a year. So them getting $180 from me might be worth it. With Call of Duty, nearly every fucker on Xbox who has Game Pass would have probably have bought Call of Duty. If not, maybe they play it on PlayStation, maybe they play it on PC. But and if you're playing it on PC, you sure as shit aren't buying it from the Xbox store. Let's be real here, right? But
No, probably not.
so But now it's like, okay, that's $170 that everybody's already going to be spending that you're now taking away from your ecosystem. And it's like, yeah, you can increase prices. I just don't see it being sustainable. I really don't. Because if you have 3 Xbox games a year, okay, that makes sense because not everybody's going to buy all 3 of those at full price. So you get the money up front and then you give them value by adding a load of games that they probably weren't going to play or were going to buy deep on a sale anyway, because that's what people do, right? There you go. Works. But I just don't see it as they ramp everything up, new games every month. How the fuck is it going to be viable? It really isn't. I just really don't see it, because that's what happens. I've not bought a game on Xbox since I fucking bought my Xbox. I just have Game Pass, and I'm just like, yeah, I have Starfield. Don't need to buy Starfield.
Every time Xbox has had a game that I've been interested in, I've been able to just cash in a free Game Pass thing for a month or a week or however long it's given me to do my business and leave.
Or even if you if you're hopping in and out, right? Even if it is $15 for a month, right? You give you $15. I play through Starfield. Oh, I've still got some time here. I'll play Psychonauts 2 because I haven't played it yet. Okay. I'll play Tell Me Why because I never got through that. Okay. I've just played 3 games for $15. Cancel my subscription. What do you fucking do? I'll renew it again when Avowed comes out or whatever's next.
Yeah.
It's cheap.
They're really hoping that people will buy it and then forget about it. But
that's the thing with subscriptions. They hope that people churn. That's it. They just want people to stay on the subscription even if they're not using it. And it's like, I don't see it being feasible. I really don't. And it's like, I look at subscription services like PlayStation Premium, which is also equally fucking shit. It is awful. But at the same time, Sony's still selling their fucking new releases at $70. So I'm like, you know what? They probably aren't hurting as much on this.
Yeah, they're not like kneecapping their own thing because Because, I honestly don't know. I don't think that if they were to put Call of Duty on Game Pass, I don't think that would actually move the needle for the subscriptions as much as one might think it would. Because most of the people who have an Xbox would probably buy Call of Duty anyway, like you were saying. And it's like, if they're going to unless they're going to take Call of Duty off of the consoles, which I believe that was the whole big hoopla over the court case, was that they're not going to do that for yet, but I think you're muted. But
it was never going to happen in the first place. Thank you, Hunter.
yeah. But and people who have a PlayStation and are like, oh, I wish I was not paying as much for Call of Duty. If they don't have an Xbox, it costs less to buy Call of Duty than it would be to buy an Xbox and then also, subscribe to Game Pass.
How many people are actually buying Call of Duty now? How many people are just using Warzone free to play and just play Warzone? Or how many people are just like, it's one of those things now where it's like, it's very weird to me because it's like, the thing we've talked about the Activision Blizzard fucking acquisition for 6 million years, and it's like, oh my god, 9% of Blizzard stuff is on PC. So in terms of console versus Xbox, it's not going to tip, in terms of Xbox and consoles, it's not going to tip the needle in any way, shape, or form, really. Oh wow, Overwatch 2 has a new home on Xbox. I'm like, great. It's shit anyway. Can they fix it, please? Thank you. Appreciate it. Activision. It gives them a leg up in mobile. Understand that. Probably important territory that they want to get in. I'll never understand mobile, but fair enough. You want to get into it? Have fun. Call of Duty is, surprisingly, Call of Duty has been shifting more and more towards PC in terms of most players anyway. The casuals still play on consoles, but in terms of a lot of streamers and everything, in terms of the cultural zeitgeist, everyone's playing on PC. So it's there's been a shift there in recent years. But even still, it's like you say, no one's going to be willing to pay $500 for a new console because they want to get it for free. Or it's like, my friends are on PlayStation now, and there's other stuff, and then it's like that other IP, Activision's other IP, Crash, Spyro, all of that jazz. It's like, there'll be stupid people like me that if it was an Xbox exclusive, I probably would have bought an Xbox for it. But most people are just gonna go, "Oh, that sucks," and just like shrug and move on. It's so bizarre.
Hold on for the next time I get next free month.
Crash 5, baby.
Yeah.
Can't wait. If we ever get it, or if it goes into the vault with Banjo, we'll find out soon. But to me, it's just like I say, I just don't get the fundamentals of Game Pass. I really don't. Maybe I never will. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. There was also a funny. There was I don't know why I never brought this up. I just never do apparently. There was also somebody from the like inside Microsoft who was like head of development on a lot of stuff, was saying in 2020, I don't get the numbers here. Like I genuinely, and I'm like, I feel like he has a point. You have to go all or nothing, and I feel like Xbox is sitting at a nice like 65-70%. And it's like, you need to be going at 100 if you really want this to work. And they're going kind of like, Call of Duty shrug. And it's like, most people were going to buy that anyway. And Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, I feel like are better suited for PlayStation and Nintendo. I just feel like that audience will eat those up more. It's weird. I don't see Xbox people buying Crash or Spyro. I just don't. It's weird. But anyway, let's talk. Let's talk about let's talk about all these job losses and stuff like that. Positive talk now.
God.
I don't know. How should I phrase this in the timestamps, Hunter? Should we go for
Tim Sweeney's a moron?
Yeah, that's one way that we can talk about it. Like studio shutdowns and redundancies. We'll talk about that. So that's not how you spell redundancies. That says redundancies, Ethan. Good job, but it's fine. I'll fix it before it's Let's talk about this. So there's been a couple, right? I think the first one you mentioned, Saints Row. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Embracer is basically imploding.
They tried to make a deal with Saudi Arabia, I believe, is the story. That I believe it was a mystery partner.
But it was Saudi Arabia. We all knew who it was.
It's been deduced to be Saudi Arabia.
Well, we know who it is because there's one country in particular that keeps making fucking investments in stock in video game companies. And we're like, oh, I wonder who it is.
Would you please quit it?
Yeah, can you fucking stop? Thank you. Stop buying stock in Nintendo.
Buy somewhere else.
I just come up with a really dark joke, but I don't think that's like I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. Okay, fine. I'll say it just for you. No one will be listening at this point. You know, in the Microsoft email that's Phil Spencer's talking about, he talks about a friend, like a mysterious back who's buying stock at Nintendo, and I was like, plot twist.
It's one of the Saudi princes.
It's Phil. No, I'm kidding. But yeah. So anyway, Volition, known for Saints Row, has been shut down completely. Embracer seems to be imploding from the inside. It turns out acquisitions are not great.
Just buying things.
Now they're trying to sell
things up like Pac-Man without anything to do with it. Not the best idea.
And now they're in the spreadsheet and they're trying to press the undo button and it's not working. And they're like, why isn't Crystal going back to Square Enix? I'm pressing the undo button. What's happening?
Oh my god.
It's not working. Dude, yeah.
This sucks for everybody that like got acquired too. Like it must really, like Crystal, for example, sold off by Square Enix. Now under them, and it's gonna disappear. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I feel like
Crystal one of the only ones that can pull out of this.
Well, the thing is the current Tomb Raider game is in partnership with Amazon. Amazon's helping fund it. So I feel like worst case scenario, which is still bad, is I feel like Amazon would just straight up buy the rights and acquire them. I feel like that's the kind of thing that Amazon would do, would be like, hey, we want Tomb Raider then. If this is what's happening, if you're going down, we want Tomb Raider and we'll take them.
The next Tomb Raider trilogy, we're going to get it free with Prime, Ethan.
Another subscription, great. Play it on
At least
Amazon
that's one that
Luna.
we might already have.
I do, but I don't want to use it. Anyway,
You can
let's talk
sub
about.
out your what you would give the free Twitch sub and use it to cash in for Tomb Raider.
You guys can give a
instead.
free Twitch Prime, or you can play Tomb Raider for a month. Your choice, guys. Your choice.
Oh, man.
It's all part of your Prime Gaming subscription. Yeah, let's talk about Volition. Obviously, New Saints Row was free on Plus. I think it's gone now by the time this podcast goes up. But if not,
Yeah,
if you claim
would
it,
have been.
it'll be the last Saints
Actually,
Row
if
game we ever
this
see.
goes up on Monday, it would be the last day you can get it.
Okay, cool. If you want to go pick up Saints Row, it's free on PlayStation right now. But yeah, so the whole studio got shuttered, which is sad. I liked Volition quite a bit, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think the writing was on the wall. Unfortunately, Agents of Mayhem, the game before the Saints Row reboot, was received
Right.
pretty terribly, and it sold pretty terribly. And then I think Saints Row not being a good game was just the nail in the coffin, really. And it sucks because, say what you want, the biggest controversy Volition ever had before was they obviously between Saints Row 2 and 3, they changed it up. So instead of it being like a serious street gang kind of game, they went stupid
It
up
got
to crank
super
the
wacky.
wacky tone up to 11. And you either like it or you don't like it. I was on the side of liking it because I was a teenager when these games came out, and even though now I look at them and I'm like, this is fucking stupid, I still have fun with them, right? I still have, there's a special place in my heart for Saints Row 3 and 4. Those games mean a lot to me. I like them quite a bit. But you know, those games still all sold really well. Whether you liked Saints Row 3 and 4 or you were still a Saints Row 2 fan, they were all successful. And then Agents of Mayhem happened. It was a flop. Rightfully so, really. They went, let's make a Saints Row game that isn't Saints Row and is not R-rated, and then they brought back Saints Row, and you can tell Saints Row 2022 had a shit development cycle because you can look at the game and go, wow, they did not know what they wanted to make here. And now you look at the internal stuff and you can tell that they didn't know what they wanted to make. There was a time when it was a sequel to Saints Row 4. There was a time when the original cast was back. They got rid of that. They didn't know what to do. And then this mess of a game came out. And it just sucks because then it's like, okay, not only are we never probably going to see Saints Row again unless someone buys the IP, which I think would be a very strange buy, especially after what's happened. But also, there's this.
It's seeing as how the current IP holder might be going belly up soon. You might just be able to, like, Phil Spencer could slide them a crisp 20 and suddenly have another IP under his belt to just use whenever he wants.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they brought back Crackdown. Nothing's off limits for them.
Yeah.
But you know, not only do you lose the franchise and something that, you know, for better or for worse, I still haven't played the Saints Row reboot. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't want to play the Saints Row reboot. I don't know if I ever will. But
Now it would
holds
just
special
make
place
you
in my heart.
sad.
And yeah, and it sucks because there were talented people there. Just because I'd like to give the comparison to Taika Waititi, the director, because the same thing's happened to him recently, where it's like Thor: Love and Thunder was a bad movie, and we all agree that it was a bad movie. And the internet's decided now that means we hate him and that everything he's ever done is bad. Now I don't know about his personal life or anything like that, right? I just know from a movie perspective, that's what we're talking about. And I'm like, but he still made Thor Ragnarok, which was a great movie.
Yeah,
And all of his
Thor
indie films
Ragnarok's
that he
one of
made
the best
before that
MCU movies.
Yeah. The indie films he made before it were all fantastic as well. And I really like Jojo Rabbit as well. As far as I'm concerned, he's made one bad film and we've chucked him down the drain. And Volition's kind of the same way, where it's like they made a couple of mediocre games. None of them are as bad as Thor: Love and Thunder, but you know, they've made a couple of mediocre games. And then everyone's like, right, and then it's just like, death to you, you're done. And it's like, it just kind of sucks. And all those people, there were still some incredibly talented people there at Volition. And it just sucks that they never get a chance to do it again, as I feel like they probably would have actually done a proper Saints Row this time. But you know, 2 full starts. Should you have not done that the first time and just played it safe? I don't know. It's hard to say. So that was the first fuck up that's been happening in the games industry. And then obviously you had Glenn Schofield from Callisto Protocol developer, Striking Distance Studios. Yeah. He's left the company, and then it was announced on the day after, like Saints Row, that it was a PS Plus game, and this is a curse now. I feel like this is a trend. If you see whatever's next month's PS Plus game, fucking send them some thoughts and prayers, because geez, like the writing might be on the wall. But yeah, so that was kind of because Callisto Protocol seems to have been a failure enough that I would not be surprised if that studio gets
Yeah.
shuttered. To be
Yeah, that
honest,
sucks too, because like
it feels like a
Callisto
deviation situation.
Protocol, Callisto Protocol, people didn't like it very much last year. I'm of the opinion that it was, it's definitely not as good as Dead Space, which it kept trying to invoke. But I feel like uh I liked it well enough. Like the first half was really good. Started
Yeah.
losing me a little bit in the second half and then brought it back. I feel like they could have honed in on, I'm always forgiving things that were interesting a second try. I've always, like, even though I thought Days Gone was fine, I think they should have let them make a sequel because, work on things that worked. And
And I feel like that's what we're missing from the game industry now is there's no second chances. And what I mean by that is obviously if a game is terrible or whatever, yeah, maybe cut your losses and go, okay, we're not doing that again. But if a game is decent or below average, it's like there just isn't that second chance anymore. And there's so many game franchises that I can think of where that second entry just defined what the series was and moved it
Street
forward.
Fighter 2.
Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah. The first one was a proof of concept.
Even talking about, like, we talked about Crash and Spyro earlier. Crash and Spyro 2. Both of those, I think, defined what that franchise was going forward. There are so many twos where it's like, I feel like every platformer, you can say the same thing. Ratchet and Clank 2, same thing. Sly 2, same thing. Jack 2, for better or worse. I think that game's shit. But yes, it did define what that franchise was. Going into it, even further, like, stuff like I thought the first Infamous was janky as fuck, and then Infamous 2 kind of made itself into what that franchise
Uncharted
wanted
2.
itself to be. Uncharted 2, brilliant example,
Yeah.
There are so many second entries where it's like, that's what defined them, and I think that Days Gone would 100% have been one of those. I genuinely do.
Yeah.
100%.
Or
Callisto
like
Protocol 2 probably would have been
last
the same
year
as well.
was a good example of Plague Tale Requiem was a sequel that I liked so much more than I thought I was going to, based off of thinking that Plague Tale Innocence was good.
It's just, you just don't get it anymore. You just really don't. And I get it, right? We're not in that era anymore of you can make a sequel in 2 or 3 years. We're not there.
Yeah.
I wish we were, because I feel like I say, we have a lot of 5 to 6 year development games that all are 100 hours long, and I'm like, we could use some 10-hour games right now, 20-hour games.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for Assassin's Creed next week because I'm like, a 15-hour Assassin's Creed game? I haven't had one of these in quite literally since 2015 was Assassin's Creed. Yeah, 15? Syndicate?
Yeah.
Was Syndicate 15?
It would have been, because they took a break in between Syndicate and Egypt, and
I have not had a Assassin's Creed game that was a decent length in 8 years. I'm so excited. That game, like, genuinely, like, my review will probably be biased because I'll be like, hey, maybe it's not the greatest game, but it's old Assassin's Creed. Like, yes, I want that. Can't wait. Can't believe I'm saying that. If you asked me that, like, 8 years ago, I would have been like, oh, fucking get rid. Thank you. But, we're at that point. And it's just like, I miss that. It's like when we talk about, oh, yeah, Elder Scrolls 6, see you in 2028. 9, it's probably going to be on the next console now. That Starfield was probably the Series X's Bethesda game, and it's like, this is. Sean Lane is right. We need to tone games down, dude. You know what we need? We need Sly 5. That's what we need. You can make that in a year and a half, 2 years, Sony. Just get that made, get it done.
Do it.
Sign the check.
Go.
Spyro 4 Activision, where the fuck is it? You can make that in 18 months. Where is it? Why are we making Crash Team Rumble? Why are we doing that?
It doesn't have to be photorealistic. We won't care. Just give it a cool little style.
Yeah. We'll take it.
Lead it up.
So it's just like, it's so fucking stupid. And then let's talk about obviously the big one. We talked about it earlier. The whole games as a service bubble starting to pop. Epic has fired over 800 employees. It was something ridiculous, like 15% of their staff or something like that. and a majority of them were from people that they acquired. So we'll talk about this, right? But Fortnite, if people don't know, there's been a shift in Fortnite's kind of development recently-ish, where ever since Fortnite Creative Unreal was released around, I think it was like over a year ago, or maybe or so, they have changed their business model so that now they're making a lot of their money from other people. They basically have a revenue share thing where it's like, if you make stuff in Fortnite Creative and it becomes popular and it's making us money, we'll give you a percentage of that money. So now they've basically done the Roblox thing of outsourcing their fucking work to other people, which
You
means
were
it's
already making a lot of money.
yeah,
Why'd you
and
turn it into a Ponzi scheme?
yeah, and from the sounds of it, they've toned down their releases in terms of less content, in terms of seasons, in terms of events. There's been, and to be honest, I've noticed that usually when there was ever a Fortnite event, whether I wanted to or not, I'd see that somebody on Twitter would be
I thought I
mentioning
was
it.
just getting better at training the algorithm to stop telling me about Fortnite.
No, it's just apparently slowed down.
Unfortunately, the reality is much bleaker.
Yeah, so they've had this shift, and obviously it's not working as much as they wanted it to. And the bubble has started to obviously die down a tiny bit. And Tim Sweeney, the lovable rogue, instead of, maybe cutting his multi-million-dollar bonus that he gets each year,
Yeah.
he has decided instead to take it upon himself to sell off parts of the business. Bandcamp is being sold off. I didn't even know Epic owned Bandcamp.
Right, yeah,
But
I heard about that detail earlier today, so screw you, Epic. All the bands that I like are not people who have made it big and used that. Screw you, Epic.
you just got to hope that they're going into the hands of somebody that still respects all that stuff, which is,
Yeah.
you never know. And then a lot of the people that have lost their jobs there's been people on the Fortnite team, obviously, but a lot of Mediatonic have been
Mediatonic, I think
let go.
Psionics got hit pretty bad too, or like
If yeah,
that's the name
so
of that's the name of
yeah,
Rocket League
Psionics is the
people,
Rocket
right?
League guys, and a lot of the Mediatonic team, who, if you don't know who Mediatonic is, they made Fall Guys and Epic acquired them a year and a half ago, I think.
Yeah.
And they've basically let go of a lot of people, and it kind of sucks because you could tell that their funding had kind of been pulled, because I don't know how familiar you are with what's been happening with Fall Guys, Hunter, but
Yeah, that seems to have
recently
slowed down quite a bit too,
they
yeah.
stopped doing seasons. Now they have like shorter fame passes, and there's no themes anymore.
Because
And
like
they guess what? They did the Epic Classic. They introduced a creative mode where other people can make stages, and then they pulled the development costs, so less people. They were inputting community modes into the map, and the people who make the maps in Fall Guys, instead of using Unity, which is what they were using, had to use the creative mode that they'd created to make new stages, so they couldn't add stuff into the game anymore, basically.
this feels like someone at Epic looked at like um Media Molecule stuff and been like, so what if we did this but didn't try after we put that part out? Or
Yeah,
maybe Media Molecule always was like, yeah, we'll put the tools to make things in your hands, player base, and then
and we'll keep creating and showing you,
we'll keep
guiding you the
doing
way.
stuff. Yeah.
And
And
it makes
Epic
sense,
just like, here you go, do everything for us. We're gonna dance on out of here.
but it's so incredibly stupid, right? It's so dumb, because it's like, I just feel so bad, because it's like Mediatonic were an indie
This,
studio who had this
yeah,
massive hit, and that should have been such a celebration.
yeah.
And then they get
This
acquired and then fucked
they
it within
made
18
it in
months.
the they made it in the increasingly hard to make it in live service thing. Like
Yeah.
you should, and then you get acquired by the owner of Fortnite and the Unreal Engine. So on paper, you would think, oh man, we'll never have to deal with being shuttered from financial issues because any reasonable person wouldn't have to make that a reality. Like
It
they did
just
everything. They did Fall Guys right. And now they lost their jobs because Tim Sweeney's going to sell digital parking lots in the metaverse.
Yeah. And for all we know, uh the Fall Guys Twitter account hasn't even tweeted since this has gone down. We don't know what the future of Fall Guys might be dying. Fall Guys might be
Oh,
shuttered. We
that
don't know.
sucks.
what's going to happen. And it's Fall Guys is like one of my favorite multiplayer games from the past like 5 years. I
Yeah,
really did love Fall Guys. They had
they,
something special, and it's
like
like
when it seemed like it was slowing down, they got to manage to breathe a new resurgence into it when it went
free
free
to
to play.
play. And then Epic seems to have just gone like, fuck off, make the creative mode so we can fire you all basically.
And like
Um,
then the Rocket League thing too, like it's wild to me that that's going because that's been like consistently one of the more. It's been like, oh, I see that in normie stuff all the time
hmm,
still, and now suddenly it's like, oh, two games that still pretty much succeeded, still didn't succeed enough,
enough. Yeah.
and that sucks.
It really it does. It really sucks. And it's like it makes me really sad and it makes me angry, especially with stuff like Mediatonic. I don't know if Mediatonic is hitting close to home because it is hitting close to home because it's an English company, right? So it's a UK company, and it's
Yeah,
like the video game industry in the UK has been getting smaller and smaller and smaller just because a lot of these smaller developers, these mid-sized studios have been shuttering. So all you have left in the UK is these couple of big studios that all want leads and experienced people who just don't fucking exist. So there's no start for the UK games industry. If you want to get into games in the UK, good luck. There's a handful of studios I can think of, and most of them are tiny, and you know, you're gonna really struggle. Like, oh, maybe, you know, sometimes Rare might hire a couple of small people, or you've got like Platonic or like something really small, but nothing huge. And it's like it's because of shit like this, and it sucks. I really, really hate it. And
yeah, like
when you go back to, we didn't even talk about Unity and all that shit that went down with
oh
Unity,
my
right?
god,
But then when
we'll
people are
get to
going,
that
oh,
at the end of the year if nothing else.
at least we got Unreal, baby, we love Epic, and it's like, yeah, well, look at them, they're also fucking dickheads. Like, no one's your friend, guys. No one's your friend.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It's
It just really sucks that because like from a game content perspective, this has been one of the best years in video games,
mhm.
unquestionably. But like it sucks that that doesn't mean that being somebody who makes these great games is a good thing. It sucks that that's not a good thing for them.
Yeah,
That
I just this whole like I say, the games industry is in the shitters right now. It's really it's not great. I saw somebody, I think it was I'm gonna double check. I don't think it was Rami Ismail, but I think it was somebody that was replying to him or something along those lines, where somebody said that this has been a great year for gamers, but a shit year for
yeah,
games in terms of industry. And I'm like, I can't agree more. Where it's like we've had some of the one of the best years for video game releases of all time, and yet it seems like it's been nothing but a shit show behind the scenes. Whether it has been all this shit that's been going down, whether it's been acquisition talk, whether it's even been the SAG-AFTRA strikes that are potentially happening in the games industry because there's been people that shit that's been undermining actors in actual Hollywood have been happening in
yeah.
video games now, and it's like
Uh,
there's so much shit going down that it just kind of it sucks,
and
man.
like
It kind of sucks.
it sh- it shouldn't be this way either. Like 2020 was
Mm.
it was the most profitable year ever for the industry or something like that.
And it
Like
continues, and
it
it continues
shouldn't
to be.
this kind of stuff shouldn't happen.
Yeah. Um, it's just dumb, man. It's just dumb. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. Um, but I hope everybody bounces back who has lost their job because man, it's a shit show, and yeah, I just hope there's some more positives coming out of it, because it's like the industry has just been doom and gloom for the past 6-7 months, other than video game releases.
Yeah, yeah, like
Um,
everybody who makes it's like that bus meme where it's like, the one where you're staring at the side of the cave and then the one staring off
yeah,
into the horizon or whatever. People who play video games on the nice part and then people who make video games on the dark and bleak thing.
It's
Ah,
also like there's been so many games this year. It's like if you aren't in tune with the video game industry like we are, you're just having a great time. You think video games are thriving, we're having the greatest time of our lives, you know. But if you are in tune, you're like even good games have had like like this kind of awkward like aura of bad shit going around them, right? It's like
yeah.
it's just like for every Tears of the Kingdom, there's been shit happening like Hogwarts Legacy or fucking shit Square Enix's stuff that's been going down. Foam Stars, dude. Like, jeez,
Foam
wept.
Stars. That's an
You
open
know,
beta
like
this weekend.
I played a little bit of it, and I can
Oh
tell
yeah.
you it isn't very good. I did not like it.
I knew that those game industry shills couldn't be trusted.
Dude, it's like it wasn't. It was like it was fine. It was like this will die in them. This will be your next knockout city or whatever, where it's dead in a couple of months. Like
Yeah.
enjoy your 2 seasons and goodbye. Like it's bizarre. It's bizarre. Anyway, that's the state of the video games industry. We're an hour and a half in, Hunter. We're an hour and a half in.
Yeah, I know, man.
Do we talk about Lies of P or do we save it for next week?
I don't know. I feel like maybe we should talk about. Do you have good things to say about it? We could use an upper to end the show on.
Yeah, sure. We'll save Amnesia
Cool.
for next week. Sorry,
Yeah,
Amnesia
yeah.
fans.
I'll
We'll
have
save
I'll
that for
have
next
more
week.
to say about it by next week too, because I'll have played a little bit more.
Oh yes, because my 5 hours of Lies of P is definitely a lot to go off. Now I
The
played
5 hours of
I played about.
Amnesia would have been like the whole thing.
Oh, true. But yeah, I played about 5 or so hours of Lies of P, and I've got to give it credit of all these day one Game Pass Souls-like video games that keep releasing every 6 to 8 months on that service. Um, this is probably the best one. I think there's been a lot of talk in the video game industry like, nah, guys, this but let's be actually pretty good Souls game. It's like it's pretty good, it's pretty solid. I'm like, yeah, sure. You say that about everything. You've said that about Wulong, and then I played like 2 hours of Wulong, and I'm like, I'm not feeling Wulong.
I don't
You
know. I
can't
feel
make
like
me.
if I would have played Wolong more, I would have liked it.
I was like, I
I feel
don't really
like
feel
I feel
it.
like Kyle might like Wolong since he got into
Maybe,
Neo.
maybe, but then at that point, I'll be like, just play Sekiro, mate. You haven't played Sekiro yet, Like, actually, I bought Sekiro. Proud achievement this week, guys. I'm now own a physical copy of every Soulsborne game, and I still haven't played 90% of them. Thank
You've
you,
only
thank
played
you.
Bloodborne and Elden Ring.
Yeah, but now I have Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1 through 3, and Sekiro on physical. The main
Oh my
reason was
god.
because they didn't reprint Sekiro, so Sekiro's really hard to get physically. So I was like, I saw it had
Oh,
a bit of a downward trend, and I was like, because it was on sale digitally, so the physical went down slightly. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna pick this up now while it's like £30 instead of it being 40 or 50, like full price for a used copy. Ew,
yeah.
cringe. But anyway, Lies of P. I'm liking it quite a bit. People who are saying this game's like Bloodborne. Yeah, it is like Bloodborne. That's crazy. It is,
The thing
but
I've
it's
been hearing
not.
people say is like it's the aesthetics of
It's
Bloodborne, but it
Bloodborne in
plays more
spirit.
like
Yeah.
Sekiro.
Oh, 100%. So yeah, in Lies of P, you play as Pinocchio, as you are sent on a quest by the Blue Fairy. I can't remember what her fucking name is. It's very stupid. I just want you to imagine, like Bloodborne aesthetics, right? The misery, the rain, the bleakness, the kind of
Yeah.
gothic horror of it all, and then having Jiminy fucking Cricket in your back pocket, dude. That's what I want you to imagine. It's goofy as shit, right? It's goofy as shit, where it's like this dark, twisted, brooding story, and they're all going like Pinocchio and Geppetto and like Jiminy Cricket. You're like, this is so dumb. I love it.
It's
I
like
really like
it's like Let It Go, but cutting to Sora and Donald and Goofy every
it.
two
Has this,
frames.
yeah. It has this really goofy aesthetic, and I'm here for it. I really like it quite a bit. But it very much is. It has the aesthetics of Bloodborne. It has a few similarities, like it has a similar equivalent to the rally system, which, if you haven't played Bloodborne before, the rally system is you take damage, you have a brief period where you can attack back and get some of your health back. It's similar in this game, but it's different, because of course it is. Instead, whenever you guard or block, you take so much damage, and if you then hit, you can regain the damage that you've blocked. If you take damage, you can't hit back.
Oh, okay.
But if you're guarding, you can hit back the damage that you took. And if you perfect parry, you take no damage, and you build stagger like Sekiro.
Yeah.
And I like the gameplay loop quite a bit. It still has this non-from feeling to it. And what I mean by that is it's very close. It's very close, but it still has these kind of some things work a bit too well. Like, well, for example, running and jumping in any Souls game is a miserable experience that is like a punishment
Yeah.
worse than death. And in this game, you hold the run button and you press the analog stick in and you jump. And I'm like, okay, that feels good. That feels wrong because it feels good. Like, it works. And I'm like, and you only have to hold the run button for a tiny amount of time and it works. Now, sometimes in Souls games, like, nope, didn't do it. Oh, wrong angle. Like, you just fuck it up. In this game, I'm fucking it up less, and I'm like, that feels wrong because I'm so used to the jank. And then in other times, it's like, I'm trying to get these perfect parries, and I'm like, this window feels a bit too harsh because I feel like in a game like, in Elden Ring, for the brief amount of time I used parries in Elden Ring, I didn't use parries much in Elden Ring, but I'm a dodge Andy, me. I'm just like, I love roly poly oly, that's me. But it's like, it felt more like, okay, it felt like more like a rhythm game where it's like you've got that window, that offset, where they're like, you're never gonna hit it perfectly. Here's the offset, and if that's the offset in like in Elden Ring, I'm not gonna say Sekiro because I haven't played it. Then it's more like here in Lies of P, where it's like you can get to a point where I'm like, I'm hitting these and I'm not, or I'm trying, I need to go earlier, not later, and it's like it's all that timing. It's trying to get that muscle memory in your head. Especially when you're trying to learn new bosses, because I think the parrying mechanic, the thing that's interesting is obviously you have different weapons and different weapon types in this game, whereas in Sekiro, you've got one sword, and there's only one way to do everything. So I'm sure learning the parries is a lot easier, because you're like, okay, I know my weapon, I just need to learn the patterns. Whereas this is like, okay, what's this weapon like? How's this working? To get to critical, you have to get these perfect parries and do enough damage to cause a stagger, and to get the stagger, you have to do a heavy attack on them to break their health bar, and then do the R1 kind of stab cut.
Oh yeah, the like
the
visceral
Bloodborne
attack.
special, the unga bunga, the shove it up and see what happens, right?
The Mortal Kombat fatality.
Yeah,
the grab
Mortal
their
Kombat
spine
phase.
and tear it out.
100%. But I like the combat quite a bit. I think the game is. I feel like if you've played a Soulsborne game before, it'll be easy and familiar enough for you. For me, I'm finding it a bit harder than Bloodborne. But I think that's solely because, unlike in Bloodborne, the beauty of Bloodborne to me, and some people hate it, is obviously in Souls normally you have Estus, so you have a number of charges. In Bloodborne, you have the blood bottles, so you can go and be like a little hoarder goblin like me and grab 20 bottles and go, haha.
Yeah,
You're
and
fucking
you'll be
done.
set until you get to Logarius, and he ruins your life for half an hour straight, and then you're like, now I'm out, and I have to go get health before I can challenge him.
Yeah, stuff like that you don't miss, but it's like you get for the first couple of bosses, you get 3 charges of health, only 3, and I'm like 5 hours in. And I had the option of upgrading for another one, but I wanted to upgrade my dodge because the dodge was shit. So I'm still on 4. So it's like, you don't get many healing opportunities. So it's harder for me, and it's a get good scenario. But it's like, I feel like Lies of P expects you to have played these games before. So it's not really, I wouldn't say it's not beginner friendly, because I feel like you can start with, you're going to get bullied by any fucking Dark Souls.
Yeah, beginner friendly isn't
regardless.
exactly something this genre goes for at all.
But I feel like there is a bit of difficulty here because the parries are hard to do, and the dodge isn't perfect. You take damage while you're dodging, so it's like there's no iframes as far as, or there's very few iframes. If there is, Kyle would be rolling in his metaphorical grave. He's not here, so he's dead to us.
Now he's fighting the alligator people.
Yeah, but so it's got those kind of. And it's got those kind of issues, and it's like stuff that I'm learning. There's a lot of learning in this game, and I feel like with Elden Ring and Bloodborne, I never really had an issue because the game mechanics for that game is very much a lot of dodging and hitting. And because this game is more of a guard slash parry and hit instead, dodging
Yeah.
isn't really that effective. To me, the way I play these games is I'm a dodger. So it's like,
Mm.
it's not hitting as well. So it's like, the boss fight that I'm currently on is this big furnace monster that's like, he like spits fire on the ground and causes you to burn and stuff like that. He's very annoying. And I'm just not doing it very well. Like I keep fucking it up. I've like done 8 attempts or something ridiculous on it and I just can't get it. And I'm like, I don't know if it's because, in Sekiro, a lot of the Sekiro fights are either against big fuckers that have a very limited move set, right? Like the big
Yeah.
monkey, right? Very unga bunga. You can kind of understand what the monkey's gonna do.
Yeah.
Or
Or they're like
there's a lot of
human sized.
there's a lot of human sized people, right? Where you can the Millennials of the world, where it's like you can kind of read them. This game has a lot of big fights with very flashy moves. And as a Kingdom Hearts hater like I am, where I'm always saying to Kyle that the reason that I don't like boss fights in Kingdom Hearts is I feel like they're too flashy and it's really hard for somebody to read unless you're like, I'm going to memorize every inch of this fucking move. He moved his pinky finger. That means he's going to do 2 flips and a fucking slam down. It's like,
Ah man,
this is
KH
stupid.
is easy. You can just push buttons.
Yeah. I'm thinking more of like super bosses Hunter than just
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh yeah, we gotta kill
I guess
one.
that's fair. I had to
We gotta,
actually pay attention when I fought Sephiroth.
yeah, like it's just like stuff like that. And also Kingdom Hearts is very forgiving where it's like, as long as you don't have to do a perfect parry, just parry, right? Whereas this game's
Yeah.
like, no, you gotta parry within fucking 50 milliseconds or you're done. It's like, there's a lot of stuff like that where there's been a lot of big bosses so far, and a lot of their moves are super intricate, and I'm like, it sucks when you're trying to when you're like, I'm trying to learn a parry mechanic here, and people keep doing these like rolling moves where they're like swinging or going from behind, and I'm like, we're early game here. I'd like some easy
Yeah,
reads,
where it's
please. Can
like
I have some easy
where they got
reads?
2 moves that like look similar before they
Mm.
hit or something like that.
Yeah. Or they have like a lot of them seem to do the same thing as God, what's his name? First boss in Bloodborne. Not the Cleric Beast.
Not the
The
cleric, Gascoigne.
Gascoigne. I knew it began with a G, but I got Godric the Grafter from Elden Ring stuck in my head, so I was like, thank you. Father Gascoigne. Where you know how he has his half health bar change up, switcheroo, changes game. Every boss in this game has that where it just turns into a completely different boss. And sometimes I'm like, that's fine. It adds some variety. It's interesting, right? But then also there's times where I'm like, I'm still new here. Can we just have
Maybe not every one of these needs to come in stages.
And we're back. I forgot to lock the room and Sam joined. He'll be back soon. Sorry, Sam. I'm just too passionate about Lies of P, damn it. We should have finished half an hour ago. But no, I'm having a lot of fun with it, but I'm also like, it is one of those things where it's I'm just trying to learn right now. And it's like, some things are are much easier than Souls games. Some things are doing my nut in, like really.
I feel like I went through
on.
some of that when I played Timesia a little while ago, where I think it was like the first, or it would have been the second boss technically that I fought. Yeah. I feel like he beat me up for quite a bit, and I was eventually I didn't even feel like there was a progression of me slowly getting better at fighting him. I think I just eventually got it, and it was like, oh, there we go. And I don't really think anything else until the final battle, for at least the ending I got, really gave me much of an issue beyond a couple of attempts.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun, and I think it's really interesting. It has an interesting world, it has an interesting style to it.
Yeah.
There's this really stupid mechanic called where the whole Lies of P thing is you can lie or tell the truth because all the puppets in the world, which are like the creatures, can't lie, whereas you can because you're Pinocchio.
Yes.
So when you go to the hotel, which is like your home, your hub for the first time,
it's
like yeah, you have to lie to get in there because the way the defense systems is basically the fucking robots like, are you a puppet? And you just go, no. And then it's like, Lies of P. I'm like, this is stupid. And I assume the idea is the more you lie in the game, the more human you become, is I guess what the
Oh,
idea is. Which I don't know how well that'll play out in the story, but I'm like, there's goofy stuff like that. And also they do the thing that all Souls games do, where they change all the fucking names of everything for no reason. So it's like stamina can't be stamina, it has to be whatever, or it's like strength can't be strength, it has to be like
oh yeah, yeah. I heard people throwing out the
dexterity's not
stat names.
dexterity, and
It's something else.
I'm
Yeah.
like, it took me forever to learn what the bullshit Souls phrases were. They don't have a copyright on this. Just copy. Just copy. You're willing to copy everything else. Copy the fucking names, dude. Like,
It reminds me of this thing I watched earlier this year. That was basically like they were taking a lot of inspiration from Alice in Wonderland, but for some reason their very Alice-inspired character had to be renamed to Alex. And I'm like, you could have just done it anyway. It's a public domain
public
story.
domain. Like, come on, what are you doing? Yeah. But no, I think I'm having a lot of fun with Lies of P. I'll probably carry on playing it until Assassin's Creed Mirage hits on Thursday.
If
When
you
I'm not
don't finish
writing.
it, are you gonna try to get back to it at some point, or you think the ship will have
Um,
sailed?
it depends how I'm feeling about it and how far I've gotten. Because it's like I've played for 5 hours. I think I've played a bit of it, but it depends how long it is.
Yeah, that's true. I don't really remember what people were saying.
I also, yeah, it's interesting because this parry mechanic
There's
is
also
I'm
like
having a lot more. Like I
these
say,
Souls games, their times are nebulous.
like if you're
Because I
like
feel
me
like
and
if you,
I didn't find Bloodborne that difficult, so I beat Bloodborne in like 18 hours because I just slammed through everything because
yeah,
for
and
some
if you were
reason
to,
Bloodborne's gameplay loop vibed with me quite a bit.
and if you were to not bother with side areas and stuff, it'd be trimming it down quite a bit there.
Yeah. I don't know how much of it's optional. That's a good point.
Yeah,
But I'll try. It's going to be hard, especially because I've got to write a review for Starfield and get all that up.
yeah.
So that's going to
It's
take a lot of my free time this week. But we'll see. And who knows? Maybe I'll go back to it. Like I said, there's that week between. There's 2 weeks for Assassin's Creed Mirage's release, and I don't think Assassin's Creed Mirage will take me 2 weeks to beat.
yeah.
So maybe I'll have a bit of time to come back.
Woo.
I don't know. But if I didn't play it now, I didn't know if I'd ever play it. So.
Yeah.
Would I recommend it? So far, I'm having a good time. If you like Soulsborne games, pick it up, see what you like. See if you like it, see if you don't like it. Hey, on PC, this might be the closest you're getting to Bloodborne, boys. You might as well just give it a try. See
Yeah.
if you like the aesthetic and go, man, I wish they'd release Bloodborne on something that wasn't a PS4. And I'll be like, yeah, same, buddy, same. And if you've got Game Pass on PC or on console, knock yourself out. It's on that Game Pass. If you bought it for Starfield and you finished Starfield, why don't you try this? Give Lies of P a try. Why
Give it
not?
a go.
Give it a go, because Starfield's done now. It's dead. We can all forget about it. Sarah Morgan dead to me. We're done.
That's what the
We don't have to go.
Cyberpunk fans are trying to do.
It's true. It's all gone. Nothing
I
else.
don't
There
want to
definitely
play
won't
with
be
you
DLC.
anymore.
I technically did pay for Shattered Space, the first DLC pack, so I will be back for that.
Oh,
Because
baby.
the early access cost did include the DLC, and I'm like, you fuckers, damn it. It's fine. Well, the first DLC hunted, they can't give it you all. They can't give it you all for the $20 you gave them. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's not a charity. Todd Howard's not a charity, dude.
No, not at all.
But no, I do like Lies of P. It's quite good. It's very funny in some ways in terms of its writing, and I'm having a bit of a challenge with it, which is nice because I'm not gonna lie. With most
Every other
Souls
one
games
of
that I've
these,
played
Ethan's
so
like,
far,
what was everyone complaining about? This is easy.
and I'm still not complaining here. It's just that my brain doesn't. I'm not good at pattern recognition in terms of parrying because it sometimes it just doesn't click with me in the way that dodging or that kind of deal does, and it's
In most
interesting.
circumstances, in a lot of what am usually a dodger too. Like when I play Devil May Cry and stuff, usually I play Trickster for most of it, which is the dashy dodgy stuff, and then eventually I'll be like, all right, let's be serious and Royal Guard bully Virgil because I'm tired of his nonsense.
It's interesting, right? I always think about it as well because, like, playing Lies of P, they expect you to have played previous FromSoft games because that's what they took inspiration from. Same with playing Bloodborne and playing Elden Ring. Elden Ring was made for new people to tag along, but it's got all this history behind it. Bloodborne had the history of Dark Souls 2, 1, and Demon Souls. So it's like, I feel like because I've played all these, when I eventually go and play the original Dark Souls, I'm
You're
gonna be
gonna be
like,
like, these are
bro,
so
like
paltry.
what the fuck is this, dude? Like, it's just gonna be like a dodge to the left,
What do
a
you mean
dodge
my
to the
weapons
right.
don't transform?
What the what? Yeah, like what is that, dude? Um, I didn't mention the weapon system. You've got like an arm that does a special move, and you've got like your
Ooh,
regular weapons. It's it's fine. It gets the job done. Um, they also
I
have the
heard that you can
Bloodborne kind of
like
mini.
you
They
can
they
like
have the
take the
Bloodborne kind of
weapons and
quests and
put
stuff as well.
attachments on them or something.
No,
Is that a
you
thing?
can swap the handle. You have two abilities that
Oh,
you can
okay,
use with
that's what I'm thinking
charges.
of.
You have like you have like an ultimate ability where you can do like a couple of slashes with 3
Ah,
charges, or you have your handles ability, which is only 1 charge, but that's usually just, hey, you take less damage while blocking. And I'm like, okay, cool. I always forget that exists.
yeah.
I think my problem with this game is unlike Sekiro, which all the gameplay I've seen of Sekiro is like bam, 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 slash, slash, slash. It's very fast paced. This game is like, it has the Dark Souls slow boss movements and stuff like that.
But you have to parry it. Oh man.
But you have to parry it, and it's also about like, I just want to go parry, parry. I did my job. Whack, whack, whack. Like I just want to go in there and start whacking, and the game's like, no, you parry, perfect parry twice, then you can hit him once, and then you have to start parrying again. I'm like, bro, I want to spend less time parrying and more time fucking whacking your head in, because unlike Sekiro, where
Less
it's
time
like,
parry and more time punch.
whereas Sekiro, you parry enough that you break the whole health bar and you just stab into him and another health bar shows up, right? This game's like parry, parry, parry. Oh yeah, you can do the Bloodborne move now, or the regular Dark Souls Mortal Kombat move, and it takes about the same health as a regular Mortal Kombat game, regular Dark Souls game. What I said, Mortal Kombat game, same kind of Dark Souls game where it takes like a quarter of the health bar, not
Yeah,
huge, and you're like, oh, that sucks. I wish you
yeah.
did more.
And like the window to actually hit them, like if
It's a
you
lot
didn't want
harder.
to do that,
Yeah.
is probably not very big.
Yeah. And also with that rally mechanic that I mentioned earlier, if you are just using the regular guard, the game doesn't give you that much time to actually claim your health back. So it does
Oh,
feel more like I'm getting like, it's very rare for me to get my full
that's really
health back.
weird since you just talked about how you'd have to be like you were only able to hit them like once or twice before going
Oh
back to
yeah.
the
And if you're
defense.
like me and you love living on the edge dangerously,
Like,
you're
yeah,
not
yeah.
guarding, you're not like me and you're like, oh, I guarded too early. Let's move it back slightly next time. Me, it's fucked it up, missed, too late. Every time I'm too late, because I'm going for that perfect frame time every time. I'm not going, I'll go early just so I've got a backup. No, I'm just like, missed, fucked it up, flobbed, rigged,
Yeah.
shit. Can't do it.
Stick drift.
Stick drift, skill issue, not me.
RNG.
RNG, bullshit.
Player one advantage.
Yeah. Um, it's very silly. The game also, I will admit, it does have the later FromSoft game concept of reading your button inputs. By the way, it also has that. I've had many an enemy just stand there and do nothing, waiting for me to fucking attack, and I'm like,
Oh.
this is stupid. Fuck off. Luckily, it wasn't an actual boss. It was like a mini boss. And as soon as you started playing that game, I was like, fuck you, and just ran. I was like, yeah.
I don't know why FromSoft thought that their games weren't hard enough, so now you have to play like fighting game
I just love how they
mind
like.
games with
I just
now I
like how
gotta
they were like,
fake
yeah,
low and go high on them.
our fans are catching up to us. What do we have to do? Read their fucking minds. That's what we have to do, Hunter. We can't win fairly anymore. We gotta read their minds. Fuckers trying to dodge. No, we move.
Oh, that's messed up.
It'd be really funny if Liza P is just going, he keeps flubbing those perfect parries. Let's just keep fucking it. Let's just keep going. Like, that's the real. But no, I'm having fun. You should check it out if you haven't. If you have Game Pass, it's pretty cool. Anyway, let's wrap it up. This is a 2-hour episode of the podcast, basically, which is we've not done that in a while. They can't stop us.
Barely had anything before we recorded.
Yeah, but I always feel like that. Whenever there's 2 of us, I always feel like we're always like, how are we gonna cover an hour, and then we end up talking for way too long, like we always do. But it's been fun. It's been good. But yeah, as always, I guess all links are on screen right now. You can go on follow us. There they are. You can go and follow us on Twitter if you want to keep up to date with everything outside of the podcast. They're in the description for the audio listeners if you're out there. But yeah, if not, obviously you can follow us on Twitter at HotGamersOnly, subscribe at youtube.com/HotGamersOnly, or you can go to your favorite podcast service. You can find us everywhere: podcast services, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it, we're on it, mate. Just go and find us. Give us a nice little review while you're there. That'd be great. Thank you very much. Next week, I'm playing Assassin's Creed Mirage. We will give you those Amnesia Bunker things, impressions that we promised you.
It's the start of the spooks.
It's Spooktober, isn't it? Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Gonna be playing Amnesia. This might be the year I finally play Resident Evil 7. I don't know what else I'm gonna do.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
We've got a week free, haven't we? That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? That sounds like fun. But yeah, as we get to Halloween, obviously Alan Wake 2 is at the end of the month, so we've got plenty of spooky content. Will Ethan be playing Alan Wake 2? No, because I've got too much shit on my plate, but it looks cool.
Yeah, that's fair.
It looks cool. I did say in a podcast a couple of weeks ago that if it was at a less busy time, then I would have considered it, at least, because...
if it was at the middle of the month instead of the end, maybe.
No, because I still have to play Assassin's Creed and all that other jazz,
right.
so it's like, it's still a bit... like and also I have to figure out my fucking budget, because we don't get that many review codes over here, so Ethan's got to figure out a way to buy Assassin's Creed,
See,
Marios,
if Alan Wake was out like right now, that would be great for me, because then I'd be able to finish it right around the time Spider-Man comes out, I think.
You see, it's funny because I remember, like, everyone, obviously it's a busy time. I remember I saw Don't Nod tweet the other week that they were like, we're pushing our game that was supposed to release in October to February because October's too busy. And I'm like, have you seen February? That's the month you chose, fuckers. I'm like, that's
it's February,
also busy.
And also like the last week of January is like packed
I'm
right
like,
now.
that was also, I'm like, should have gone for March. Like, just keep pushing. But anyway.
Or if you're already done with the game and it's simply because October is packed, I don't know, slip it into early December. It's free.
They don't want to go against Avatar, dude, the blockbuster juggernaut.
Oh yeah, Avatar.
If that game does well, that is genuinely going to baffle me, because I'm like, who likes Avatar, dude? I still don't get it. I still don't get it, mate.
The movies do bafflingly well. Like, it shocks me that 2 did as well as it did after it'd been over a decade. Neither have I. It was long enough to incur an intermission, I believe.
Dude, like, yeah.
That's way too much for a movie I don't care about.
It's very silly. I'm still an Avatar hater. That's one thing I'm
till
just
the day I die.
Exactly, dude, exactly. Anyway, let's wrap it up. Anyway, that's been our show. Sorry, I was like, I thought you were gonna say something. I was like, no. Okay.
No. I hate Avatar.
Just want to sit here in awkward silence for a bit. I'm fine with that. Anyway, next week, Assassin's Creed is a good franchise, but will it be a great franchise? Let's find out next week. Starfield review on YouTube coming out. Obviously, we've got the Axolotl review already out. Go check that out if you haven't already. Link will probably be in the cards right now because I'm so smart and great. But other than that, that's been it for this week. We'll be back next week. Kyle will be back, hopefully. We'll see. Who knows? Will he have beaten the alligators? Find out next week.
Put a stop to the alligator people once and for all.
Let's find out. Anyway, we'll be back same time, same place next week for more. Hopefully not for a 2-hour ramble, but we'll see. Anyway, until then, have an awesome week. Yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Toodaloo.